Chapter 1606 Chapter 1606 Azura Arena. After successfully sealing a holy weapon, Lu Ming's confidence was greatly boosted. Then, the black wings flew out. Lu Ming circulated the 10,000 soldiers' art, and a light spot lit up on his spine. Lu Ming sealed the black wings into this acupoint. After sealing the two saint weapons, the two acupoints seemed to be connected through meridians. A wisp of battle weapon chi flowed through the meridians and gathered. Then, Lu Ming took out a combat sword. This combat sword was also a holy weapon. He sealed it in the acupoint of his left palm. The three acupoints were connected through the meridians. Then, Lu Ming began to seal the fourth holy weapon. As more and more holy weapons were sealed, the battle weapon chi grew stronger and stronger. The pressure on Lu Ming's acupoints also grew stronger. With every holy weapon sealed, Lu Ming's acupoints felt like they were about to be torn apart. It was extremely painful. However, Lu Ming gritted his teeth and endured all of them. In the end, Lu Ming sealed 10 holy weapons in one go. The 10 holy weapons were sealed in 10 acupoints, connecting with each other through the meridians. The battle weapon chi was extremely strong. He had finally reached his limit. Lu Ming felt that if he continued to seal, his body would not be able to withstand it and would be torn apart by the combat weapon chi. If he wanted to seal more holy weapons, he would have to wait for his cultivation to increase or for his spirit body to evolve again. Buzz! Lu Ming soared into the sky. With a single thought, 10 light spots lit up on his body. 10 holy weapons appeared and floated around him. Lu Ming held the black dragon spear and thrust it out. A terrifying spear light pierced thousands of miles away before it disappeared. The power is really shocking. This 10,000 weapons scroll is called 10,000 weapons. If it can really seal 10,000 saint weapons, its power will probably be earth-shattering, and even stronger saint weapons, such as great saint weapons, extreme saint weapons, and even sovereign weapons. How terrifying will that be? Lu Ming's face was filled with surprise. The 10,000 soldiers scroll was a secret skill, a terrifying secret skill. If he cultivated the 10,000 soldier domain to the 10,000 soldier law, this secret skill would turn into a terrifying divine power. With another thought, the 10 saint weapons flew back into his body and disappeared. The 1,000-kill mansion has left a slaughter mark on my main body. If they can find me based on the mark, it'll let my second body move around outside and find a city. My main body will refine the demon-killing crystals in the mountain and river diagram and improve its soul strength. It's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. His main body was in the mountain and river diagram, and he didn't believe that the other party could still sense the slaughter mark. With this in mind, he left the mountain and river diagram, and then the mountain, heading toward the depths of the 100-clan battlefield. As for Lu Ming, he took out a demonic evil crystal at LV6 Martial Royal Realm from the mountain and river diagram and started refining it. After the energy of the demonic fiend crystal surged into his body, it would turn into a ball of demonic chi and surge into his dantian, enveloping his spiritual god. Lu Ming felt a numbing itch in his soul and a tearing pain. This was the energy of the demonic fiend crystal, which was tempering the soul and making it stronger and stronger. A few hours later, a LV6 Martial Royal Realm demonic fiend crystal was completely refined. Lu Ming's soul had improved a little. Although it was only a little, it was already many times faster than when Lu Ming cultivated the divine sword technique to increase his soul force. Then, Lu Ming took out another demonic evil crystal at LV6 Martial Royal Realm and continued to refine it. The second body concealed its aura and entered deep into the 100-clan battlefield. Along the way, he saw many battles between heaven's favorites. Each time, both sides would be heavily injured or one of them would die. However, Lu Ming had no intention of fighting them now. When he saw these paragons, he would take a long detour. He planned to find a city first before making any plans. Sure enough, After the main body stayed in the mountain and river diagram, the assassins from the 1,000-kill mansion never came again. After a few days, a huge city appeared in front of them. The city was huge and magnificent. The city walls were hundreds of meters high and the city gate was heavily guarded. These people were all native and had grown up in the 100-clan battlefield. Lu Ming stepped into the city and realized that it was very lively. People came and went, and there were many shops. On the streets, he could see young experts with strong auras. Lu Ming glanced around and found that most of them were at the 8th or 9th level of the martial royal realm. Sometimes, he could even see the existence of the half-saint realm. Most of these youths were like Lu Ming. They had been trained in the 100-clan battlefield. However, these people would enter the city once in a while to rest and reorganize. After all, there were local saints in the city. They were not allowed to kill in the city, so they could relax and adjust their conditions. There was also a special market in the city where many elites would exchange for treasures. The 100-clan battlefield was filled with danger but also with opportunities. Countless treasures had been left behind from the ancient war. Some people had taken the risk and obtained some treasures. Lu Ming walked around and found an inn. He booked a room. After entering the room, the second body sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. In the next few days, Lu Ming's main body was refining the demonic fiend crystals in the mountain and river diagram. His soul was getting stronger and stronger. Now, his soul force had completely reached the first stage of the half-saint realm and was close to the second stage. However, it was not enough. Lu Ming was still refining the demonic fiend crystals. 10 days after Lu Ming entered the city, his soul power finally made another breakthrough and reached the second stage of the half-lifetime. With his soul power at this level, Lu Ming could use the divine sword technique to shake the soul of a second-stage half-saint expert. He would be greatly affected. Lu Ming only stopped cultivating the demonic fiend crystals for the time being. Let's go to the Azura stage. With a thought, his secondary body entered the mountain and river diagram, while his main body exited the mountain and river diagram. During this period of time, the second body would occasionally go out to inquire about news and had learned a lot of information about the city. The Azura Arena was a battle platform. It was the only place in the city where one could fight. Many Heaven's favorites from the outside world would go up to the Azura stage to find opponents and engage in a life-and-death battle. They would walk on the edge of life and death to stimulate their potential and make a leap. Lu Ming also wanted to stay in the Azura arena and find opponents to fight against. He wanted to temper himself and improve his cultivation. Not long after, a building appeared in front of Lu Ming. The building was not big. Lu Ming walked in and realized that there was a fighting ring in the building. There were no seats around the fighting ring. Some young people were standing around and watching. There were about a few hundred people. On the fighting ring, there were two young men engaged in an intense battle. The two young men were both at the peak LV8 martial royal realm. They both had superior earth spiritual bodies, and their combat strength was not very different. They fought fiercely for hundreds of moves, and it was difficult to determine the winner. Who? The two of them stood on both sides of the fighting ring with many wounds on their bodies. Both of them were injured. However, the two of them did not step down from the fighting ring. There was a light screen covering the fighting ring, making it difficult for them to get down. Lu Ming had already known that the fighting stage was called the Azura Arena. Once one stepped into it, a light screen would rise around the fighting stage and cover it. Then, there were only two paths. One was to kill the opponent and end the battle. The second was to hold on for half an hour. Only after half an hour would the light screen disappear and he could leave the fighting ring. One couldn't admit defeat on the Azura Arena. Therefore, once one set foot on the Azura Arena and encountered an opponent whose strength was much higher than one's own, only death awaited them. Therefore, many people would choose opponents of similar cultivation or slightly higher cultivation to fight to the death to temper themselves. Chapter 1607, 1607 Don't come to your death if you're below the half-saint realm in the fighting ring. The two young men were evenly matched. Neither of them could do anything to the other, so they could only wait. After a while, the light screen around the fighting ring disappeared. The two young men jumped down from the fighting ring and disappeared. Buzz! A young man in a red robe jumped onto the fighting ring. He did not hide his aura at all. Middle LV9 Martial Royal Realm. Who wants to fight me? The red-robed young man said as he looked around. I'll do it. A voice was heard as a young man leaped onto the fighting ring. The man's aura was at the early stage of the LV9 Martial Royal Realm. On the Azura arena, those with cultivation much higher than their opponents wouldn't challenge them, because there was no meaning in tempering themselves. These people came here to find the strong and train themselves. What's the point of challenging a weakling? Unless they had enmity with each other, they could go up and kill the enemy. You're not my match at the early stage of LV9 Martial Royal Realm. The red-robed youth said coldly. Not necessarily. The young man at the early LV9 Martial Royal Realm had a strong desire to fight in his eyes. Buzz! At this moment, the light screen on the fighting ring rose again. Kill! The young man at the early LV9 Martial Royal Realm took the lead in attacking. A long spear appeared in his hand, and he thrust it at the red-robed young man like lightning. Boom! A fire domain spread out from the red-robed young man's body, enveloping his opponent. At the same time, he pounced at his opponent with a flaming saber in his hand, slashing at his opponent. Boom! Boom! With two fierce collisions, the early LV9 Martial Royal Realm youth was forced to retreat with a trace of shock in his eyes. He was actually at a complete disadvantage. Die! The red-robed young man charged forward with his flaming saber, launching a storm of attacks. The young man at the early stage of LV9 Martial Royal Realm roared and exerted all his strength to fight the red-robed young man. The red-robed young man's combat strength had exceeded his expectations. He was much stronger than him. He had to give it his all. This battle was also an opportunity for him. If he could survive the red-robed young man's attack for half an hour, he would definitely gain a lot. Unfortunately, the red-robed young man was much stronger than him. In just a dozen moves, the flaming saber crushed down and cut the early LV9 Martial Royal Realm young man in half. The terrifying flames turned his body into ashes. A powerful heaven's favorite had been killed just like that. As long as one person was killed, the light screen at the edge of the fighting ring would be retracted. Without a doubt, these heaven's favorites were all upper-class earth spiritual bodies. The weaker ones, unless their cultivation was very high, would only be courting death in the 100-clan battlefield. Unfortunately, even among the superior earth spiritual bodies, there were strong and weak ones. The red-robed young man's combat power was very strong. The red-robed youth took the storage ring and said coldly, "You want to use me as your whetstone? You're looking for death." The 100-clan battlefield and the Azura arena were cruel like this. If one wanted to use the other party as a whetstone to train themselves, it was very likely that they would lose their lives. Who else wants to come up for a fight? Anyone in the 9th level of the Martial Royal Realm is fine. The red-robed young man spoke again, his eyes filled with a strong desire to fight. Obviously, the red-robed youth was very confident in himself. He also wanted to find experts to train himself. "I'll fight you." A bald young man leaped onto the fighting ring, his aura spreading out. His cultivation was slightly higher than the red-robed young man's. Battle. Without any unnecessary words, the two of them started fighting. On the fighting ring, the confrontation was extremely intense. The two of them were fighting with all their might, forcing themselves to the extreme. Below the battle stage, many young people were watching seriously. Watching other people's battles would sometimes give him inspiration. The battle between the two was very intense and lasted for 100 moves. In the end, the red-robed young man was stronger and killed his opponent with one strike while he was severely injured. The red-robed young man seemed to have gained something from the life-and-death battle. He left the fighting ring and disappeared, probably to find a place to cultivate in seclusion. Following that, a few more life-and-death battles took place. Some were killed, and some were mutually wounded. Only in such an environment can I really improve quickly, Lu Ming muttered to himself. Then, he took a step forward and appeared on the fighting ring. Who wants to fight me? Lu Ming scanned his surroundings and added, it's best if it's a half-saint. Those below the half-saint realm don't need to come and die. His words silenced the crowd, followed by a burst of discussion. This man is so arrogant. He's only at the early stage of the LV8 Martial Emperor realm, yet he wants to challenge a half-saint. He even said that anyone below the half-saint realm would die. He's too arrogant. I'll go and meet him. A young man rushed into the fighting ring. His aura was at the peak of LV8 Martial Royal Realm. Peak LV8 Martial Royal Realm. Why do you have to come here and court death? Lu Ming shook his head slightly, feeling a little disappointed. Arrogant. Let's see how you're going to kill me. The young man shouted coldly and stepped forward. His hand was like an eagle's claw, and he clawed at Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch and the terrifying fist force crushed the opponent's claw. The fist force did not stop and bombarded the opponent's dantian. The fist force penetrated the opponent's dantian. One punch, killed. Lu Ming did not show any mercy. There was no such thing as mercy on the Azura stage. Anyone who stepped onto the Azura stage had to be prepared to be killed. Moreover, Lu Ming had already reminded him. I've said it before. Those below the half-saint realm don't need to come here to die. Lu Ming said indifferently. Below the fighting ring, the other young men's eyes narrowed. A young man at the LV8 Martial Royal Realm was able to kill a person at the peak of the LV8 Martial Royal Realm with one punch. His combat strength was absolutely amazing. This person's combat strength is indeed shocking. Hell be a perfect whetstone for me. A strong young man with strong fighting intent in his eyes rushed up to the fighting ring. His terrifying aura spread out. He was at the peak of LV9 Martial Royal Realm. It's him, Kwang Kong. Kwang Kong's cultivation is at the peak of the 9th level Martial Royal Realm, but his combat strength is extremely terrifying. He has killed several geniuses at the peak of the 9th level Martial Royal Realm in a row. Once, he challenged a first-stage half-saint. Although he was no match for the half-saint, he survived half an hour of the half-saint's attack. He's been looking for a strong opponent to challenge recently. He wants to break through his limits, comprehend the ultimate domain, and step into the half-saint realm. The vigorous young man went on stage and caused a wave of discussion. However, Lu Ming still shook his head and said, another one who's going to die, why bother? Lu Ming was speaking from the bottom of his heart. He came here to find strong people to train himself. If the weak ones were of no use to him, what was the point? However, his words sounded arrogant to the others. LV8 Martial Royal Realm. You're talking big. Kill. Kwang Kong's figure was like a hurricane as he charged towards Lu Ming. Chapter 1608, 1608 Chapter 1608 Continuous Challenges. Kwang Kong's weapon was also a long spear. It was a holy weapon. As the long spear swept out, the attack swept toward Lu Ming like a storm. Boom! Lu Ming made his move. His attack was still very simple. With the primal chaos domain and the prison suppression heavenly art, Kwang Kong's attack crumbled in an instant. The fist momentum didn't stop as it struck towards Kwang Kong. Kwang Kong's expression changed drastically. The power of Lu Ming's punch was too terrifying. It had far exceeded his expectations. Block it! He roared as a green shield appeared. It was a saint weapon. At the same time, a gust of wind blew around him, forming several shields around him. Boom! Lu Ming's punch landed on the Saint Weapon shield, producing a terrifying boom. The Saint Weapon shield was sent flying and crashed into Kwang Kong. Kwang Kong groaned and was sent flying. He crashed heavily into the light screen at the edge of the fighting ring. The light screen trembled and blocked his body. Kwang Kong slid down the light screen and spat out a mouthful of blood. How is that possible? Kwang Kong shouted in disbelief. Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying. Even with his cultivation, he could not withstand a single blow. Moreover, his defense had once blocked the continuous attacks of a first-stage half-saint. Now, he was seriously injured by Lu Ming's punch. Below the fighting ring, the others were also shocked. Kill! Lu Ming said coldly. He stepped forward and closed in on Kwang Kong. Block it, I'm going to block it. Kwang Kong roared and waved his hands. 2 more shields appeared. They were both holy weapons. The 3 holy weapon shields stacked together and floated in front of him. At the same time, a suit of armor appeared on his body. It was also a holy weapon. With so many defensive saint weapons, it was no wonder that they could block the continuous attacks of a half-saint. As his genuine vitality constantly poured into the Luyuan gloves became heavier and heavier. Boom! He threw another punch at Kwang Kong's shield. Kwang Kong's entire body was like a sandbag as he was sent flying. He crashed into the light screen, causing it to shake violently. Kwang Kong spat out a large mouthful of blood, and who knew how many bones in his body were broken. How can this person's strength be so terrifying? Mad Kong was in despair. Lu Ming's strength had far surpassed that of the half-saint he had met before. How could a person at the 8th level of the Martial Emperor realm have such shocking strength? Of course, he did not know that when Lu Ming was at the peak of the 7th-tier martial royal realm, he could already fight head-on with the half-saint of the 1,000-kill mansion. Now that he had broken through to the 8th tier, his power was naturally stronger. Kill! The black dragon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hands. He thrust the spear forward and the accumulated power of 13 strikes burst out. The 13 streams of power exploded, penetrating through Kwang Kong's layers of defense and hitting his opponent's body. Kwang Kong cried out in pain as his body was sent flying. This time, he didn't get up. Even with the protection of the holy weapon, his life was gone. Lu Ming waved his hand and put away Kwang Kong's holy weapon and storage ring. Who else wants to fight? It better be a half-saint. Lu Ming looked around and repeated himself. What powerful strength! This person's strength is even stronger than a first-stage half-saint. It's unbelievable. A LV8 Martial Royal Realm martial artist has such terrifying power. He must have a heavenly spiritual body. Even the heavenly spiritual body isn't this terrifying. Below the fighting ring, many people were discussing, but for a moment, no one went up. Some people's eyes flickered, as if they were measuring their own strength. Lu Ming was able to destroy the gale with a few moves. His strength had already surpassed many first-stage half-saints. Some of the first-stage half-saints were also measuring their combat strength to see if they could fight Lu Ming. I'll do it. A moment later, a young man in a green robe stepped onto the fighting ring. It's him, Lei Xiong. Many people's eyes moved when they saw this young man. It's said that Lei Xiong is about to break through the second stage of the half-saint realm and comprehend the laws of nature. He's on the stage. This battle is going to be interesting. On the fighting ring, a smile finally appeared on Lu Ming's face. Finally, a decent one had come. Kill! Lei Xiong made his move immediately. His entire body was covered in lightning. The terrifying lightning condensed into a lightning seal and charged towards Lu Ming. Boom! The black dragon spear in Lu Ming's hand shot up and swept across the thunder seal. The thunder seal exploded with a loud boom and the entire fighting ring was filled with the power of the thunder cauldron. But then, a huge lightning cauldron came crashing down on Lu Ming. Good! Lu Ming shouted and the black dragon spear was blasted out again. Lei Xiong had mastered the ultimate lightning domain and cultivated a terrifying domain martial technique. The power of lightning could turn into all kinds of terrifying attacks with shocking power. Lu Ming did not use the divine sword technique or the chaos sky-turning seal. He only used ordinary combat techniques to fight with his opponent. For a moment, the two of them were in an intense battle, and it was difficult to determine the winner. This battle lasted for half an hour. It only ended when the light screen disappeared. And NBSP hoo-hoo. Lei Xiong gasped for breath. He had exhausted his essential core and if this continued, he would not be able to hold on. On the other hand, Lu Ming was still calm and composed. Monster! Lei Xiong mumbled, turned around and left the fighting ring. Unfortunately, it's still lacking a little. I don't have that sense of danger. Lu Ming muttered. After the battle with Lei Xiong, Lu Ming felt rather carefree. He felt that his comprehension of the Chaos Realm was somewhat inspired. However, he did not feel a sense of danger and the effect was still a little lacking. Are there any people at the second stage of the Half-Saint Realm? Come up and fight. Lu Ming spoke again, his voice spreading throughout the entire venue. Many people below the fighting ring looked at each other. Lu Ming actually wanted to challenge a half-saint in the second stage. He was really abnormal. An 8th-level martial royal realm expert challenging a second-stage half-saint, even if they were all from emperor-level forces, was still dumbfounded. The half-saints here were not ordinary half-saints outside. They were all genius half-saints. This is really interesting. I can't believe such a heaven's favorite appeared. If I can kill such a heaven's favorite, it would be interesting. A cold voice was heard as a pale-faced young man stepped onto the fighting ring. Bang! Then, the person took a step forward and a terrifying force surged toward Lu Ming. The power of law. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. Then, he revealed a look of excitement. He was a genuine second-stage half-saint. 13 charged attacks. The black dragon spear flickered and stabbed forward. Boom! It was as if the black dragon spear had stabbed into a mountain of steel. A terrifying force gushed forth, bending the black dragon spear. Lu Ming's body was forced to retreat a dozen steps before he could stabilize himself. The power of law, what a powerful might! Lu Ming sighed in his heart, but his eyes were even more excited, revealing a strong desire to fight. Pressure. He could feel an intense pressure on his body. He needed this kind of pressure to force himself to keep moving forward. Chapter 1609, 1609 Chapter 1609 Improving Under Pressure. Bang! The pale-faced young man stepped forward, and his aura skyrocketed. A blood-red light appeared between the sky and the earth and surrounded his body. Blood God cut. The blood-red light was like a divine knife, slashing toward Lu Ming. The blood-red light gave Lu Ming a strong sense of danger. A dragon's roar came from within Lu Ming's body. Above his head, the shadow of 9 dragons could be vaguely seen, dancing in the sky. Heaven and earth phenomenon. Lu Ming activated the dragon god combat body to its maximum and caused a phenomenon. Following that, Lu Ming stomped on the ground heavily. His entire body twisted like a huge dragon, then he drove the long spear and stabbed forward. Clang! The black dragon spear collided with the blood-red light. A terrifying force seemed to penetrate the black dragon spear and split Lu Ming in half. Lu Ming's body trembled and he retreated continuously. The second stage of the half-saint realm is indeed much stronger than the first stage. The power of the laws is invincible and can break anything. Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. The pale-faced young man's realm was the same as the noble young man from the Wan family, but his combat strength was far inferior to the noble young man's. The noble young man from the Wan family had the heavenly spiritual body. However, even though he was far inferior to the distinguished young man of the Wan family, his combat strength was still extremely powerful. After all, he could control the power of laws. The laws were the foundation of this world. You're not bad to be able to take 2 of my moves, but that's all. The pale-faced young man said coldly. He controlled the power of law and continued to charge at Lu Ming. Is that so? The fighting spirit in Lu Ming's eyes grew stronger and stronger. There was no fear in him at all. Light spots lit up on his body, and holy weapons flew out from within, floating around him. There were a total of 10 holy weapons, and the chi of combat weapons converged, making Lu Ming's aura even more powerful. 10,000 soldier art, you are a member of the Wan family. The pale-faced young man's eyes narrowed. Lu Ming smiled and declined to comment. It seems like another genius has appeared in the Wan family. It's time to behead him. The pale-faced young man strode forward and slashed at Lu Ming with a blood-red light. Buzz! The black dragon's spear trembled like a dragon's roar as it thrust forward. At the same time, Lu Ming's left hand grabbed a holy weapon sword and slashed down. Boom! Boom! This time, after 2 loud bangs, Lu Ming still retreated. However, he took a few steps back this time. Kill! 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 The pale-faced young man shouted as the blood-red light continued to slash at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was not afraid at all. He rushed forward, 2 rays of black light shooting out from his eyes. The pale-faced young man's body trembled as he used the divine sword technique. A trace of pain flashed in his eyes. However, he endured it and continued to attack Lu Ming with the power of law. However, Lu Ming's current soul force was no longer weaker than that of a second-stage half-saint. When he used the divine sword technique, his opponent's soul was also affected and his strength was weakened. Boom! Boom! The 2 of them clashed again, and at the moment of collision, they exchanged several moves. This time, Lu Ming still retreated but only by a few steps. He could barely resist the other party's attack. Hiss! Hiss! Below the fighting ring, the others gasped. Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying. He was only at the 8th level of the martial royal realm, but he could fight against a second-stage half-saint. A peerless monster. Someone sighed. Such combat strength, I'm afraid that even the strongest geniuses of ordinary emperor-ranked powers don't have such combat strength. Only those terrifying and ancient powers can have such geniuses. That's right. The WN family actually produced such a genius. Many geniuses sighed and discussed. On the fighting ring, the battle continued. Lu Ming combined his divine sword technique and finally managed to fight with his opponent. Not long after, the 2 of them had fought for dozens of rounds. Satisfying, satisfying. Lu Ming let out a long roar. The 9 dragons also let out long roars in the celestial phenomenon. Apart from the chaos sky-turning seal, Lu Ming did not hold back in his battle. His essential core whistled and his territory was cast to the extreme. The battle between the 2 of them was intense. The terrifying Qi was wantonly bombarding the light curtain at the edge of the fighting stage, causing it to shake violently. You actually used me as a whetstone. The pale-faced young man's eyes were cold. He understood that Lu Ming was using him as a whetstone to improve himself. However, on the other hand, he was forced to this stage by Lu Ming, a LV8 martial emperor. The pressure he was under was also very great, and it could also force him to improve. The battle continued without stopping. Although the pale-faced young man's combat power was obviously stronger, Lu Li had many tricks up his sleeve. The divine sword technique was enough to threaten the other party. Moreover, The dragon god combat body was a heavenly spiritual body, so his vitality was extremely vigorous and his endurance was also extremely strong. It was as if he would never be tired. It would be difficult for the other party to kill Lu Ming. This battle had already gone on for who knew how many moves. After half an hour, the light screen at the edge of the fighting ring disappeared. Boom! The two of them exchanged a final blow and retreated at the same time, standing on both sides of the fighting ring. Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. After such a long battle, he was still injured by the power of the law. However, the other party was also panting like an ox, and had consumed a lot of energy. Let's fight again next time. The pale-faced young man left with these words and strode away. I'll wait for your battle, let's go, Lu Ming said. He then jumped off the fighting ring and left. Soon, he returned to the inn and entered the mountain and river diagram. Under the path understanding ancient tree, Lu Ming sat cross-legged with the heavenly Tao stone suspended in the air. He was quietly comprehending. In this battle, he had been completely suppressed by the other party and was constantly in a life-and-death situation. His potential had been completely stimulated and he had gained a lot. Unfortunately, he didn't enter the life-and-death ethereal realm. It seemed that it wasn't easy to enter the life-and-death ethereal realm. The last time he was able to enter it, it was completely by chance. 2 days later, Lu Ming ended his cultivation and opened his eyes. As expected, I can only improve quickly in a great battle. Lu Ming revealed a faint smile. In 2 days, he had fully recovered from his injuries, and his chaos domain had also improved, approaching the middle stage of level 8. If one were to cultivate step by step, it would be difficult to achieve this effect without months of hard work. Continue. Lu Ming exited the mountain and river diagram and went to the Azura arena once again. As soon as Lu Ming arrived at the Azura stage, many people looked at him with fear in their eyes. Lu Ming had already become a famous person in the Azura arena. You're finally here. Let's continue the battle. The pale-faced young man was also there, glaring at Lu Ming. Just what I wanted. Lu Ming responded. As soon as the battle on the fighting ring ended, Lu Ming and the pale-faced young man leaped onto the fighting ring one after another. Without saying a word, they immediately started fighting. This time, the battle lasted for half an hour before the two of them retreated, panting heavily. This time, Lu Ming did not vomit blood. His injuries were lighter than before. Su ran. The pale-faced young man said. Lu Ming. Lu Ming answered. Well, fight another day. Well, fight another day. The two of them left these words and then left the fighting ring. Chapter 1610 Undying Heavenly Phoenix Body. Over the next 10 days, Lu Ming and Su Ran would engage in a huge battle every 2 days. Each battle lasted for half an hour. This was a life-and-death battle. Lu Ming's improvement was very fast. With every battle, Lu Ming's Chaos Realm was greatly improved. The improvement of the Chaos Realm also improved his cultivation. 10 days later, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the late stage of the 8th level Martial Emperor realm. He was not far from the peak of the 8th level Martial Emperor realm. This speed was already very shocking. Lu Ming was not the only one who had improved. Su Ran had also improved. He was more and more skilled in using the power of law. Originally, Su Ran had just entered the 2nd stage of the Half-Saint realm. Now, he was slowly crossing over to the later stage of the 2nd stage. However, it was obvious that Lu Ming had improved faster. Hence, 10 days later, when Lu Ming fought with Su Ran, although he was still at a disadvantage, it was not so obvious anymore. The two of them had been fighting for days, and there was a feeling of appreciation for each other. Lu Ming, you're too abnormal. If this goes on, it won't be long before I'm no longer your match. Below the Azura arena, the two of them watched the battle on the fighting ring and chatted. It seems that I have to change my opponent. Lu Ming said. What? Su Ran glared at him and said, "You really think you can beat me?" "No, I just feel that if I can't kill you, it will lose the meaning of the life and death battle," Lu Ming said. Su Ran was stunned for a moment, but then he nodded. The two of them had been fighting for days, and they felt that their temperaments were somewhat similar. After the battle 2 days ago, the two of them even went to drink to their heart's content. Then, they went up to the Azura arena, and really couldn't kill. Boom! Suddenly, a loud boom was heard. The sound did not come from the Azura platform, but from outside. Outside the Azura stage, there was a battle. Many people's expressions changed. In this city, only the Azura arena allowed people to fight. Other places prohibited fighting. Who was so bold to fight in the city? Wasn't he afraid of being killed by a saint? Let's go and take a look. Who is it that dares to fight in the city? Instantly, the paragons below the fighting ring rushed out one after another. Lu Ming and Su Ran exchanged a glance and also rushed out. Boom! Boom! As soon as they got outside, they heard a violent roar and everyone looked up at the sky. In the sky, there were two figures engaged in an intense battle. Two rays of light crossed each other, and a terrifying force swept in all directions. In the sky, two phenomena appeared. One was a weapon that was moving freely in the void, while the other was a phoenix that was bathing in tribulation fire. The heaven and earth phenomenon indicated that the two people fighting were both heavenly spiritual bodies. Boom! With another boom, the two figures separated and retreated hundreds of meters back, standing in the air. One of them was a young man in a purple and gold robe. He was surrounded by 12 saint weapons, and the chi of the weapons shot up into the sky. It's him. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. This young man was the distinguished young man from the Wan family. The other one was a peerless beauty with a graceful figure and exquisite curves. Her skin was like jade and could cause the downfall of a city. On her back, a pair of phoenix wings extended, adding to her strange temperament. Undying celestial phoenix. This person's spiritual body should be the undying celestial phoenix body that was condensed from the bloodline of the undying celestial phoenix. Lu Ming's eyes lit up when he saw the woman. The undying celestial phoenix was one of the top 10 battle beasts. It was a unique existence in the Phoenix clan, just like the 9 dragons in the Dragon clan. The undying celestial phoenix was stronger than an ordinary phoenix. After coming to the Yuan continent, this was the first time Lu Ming had met a genius who had awakened the bloodline of one of the top 10 war beasts. Through the surrounding discussions, Lu Ming knew the names of the two people. The young man from the Wan family was named Wan Tiancheng, and the woman who had cultivated the undying heavenly phoenix body was named Huang Ling Buzz. His saint weapon buzzed, and Wan Tiancheng stepped forward. His combat weapon chi was like a rainbow, and his combat sword slashed towards Huang Ling. The cry of a phoenix resounded. Behind Huang Ling, a pair of phoenix wings flapped, forming a sky full of flames and bombarding towards Wan Tiancheng. A terrifying collision erupted, and the sky was filled with the chi of combat weapons and flames. The onlookers were forced to retreat, unable to get close. How terrifying! His combat strength is close to the level of the Saint Realm. They only have low-class heaven spiritual bodies. I really don't know how terrifying those with medium-class or high-class heaven spiritual bodies are. Maybe they can kill saints before they become saints. Wan Tiancheng and Huang Ling's combat strength shocked everyone. No wonder they dared to fight in the city. With such combat strength, even if the saints in the city attacked, the two could probably escape. The battle weapon chi and flames swept across the sky. Wan Tiancheng and Huang Ling kept colliding. The battle was reaching its climax, and no one dared to stop in that area. No, there was one person. A young man in black stood not far away from the battle. He had his arms crossed, and a layer of light emanated from his body, blocking the battle weapon chi and flames that were sweeping in all directions. Who is this person? Many people were shocked. It looks like Simo Yang, it's him. Another heavenly spiritual body. Someone cried out in surprise. They recognized this young man in black, who was also an extremely powerful heaven's favorite. Ha ha ha, it's really lively. With a loud laugh, an unusually burly young man stepped through the air. He was 2 heads taller than ordinary people, and his muscles were as firm as iron. He stepped forward in the air. The chi of the soldiers and the flames fell on him, but he seemed to feel nothing. Beast Xiao Kuang. Another heavenly spiritual body. What's going on? Aren't these freaks all in the depths of the 100-clan battlefield? Why have they all come to the outskirts? Could it be that something big is happening in the outer region? Many people were guessing. The depths of the 100-clan battlefield was the heart of the ancient war. There were many opportunities there. Some abnormal geniuses and most half-saints were gathered there. They could only temper themselves in the depths of the 100-clan battlefield. Those on the outskirts were much weaker. These abnormal people rarely came to the periphery of the 100-clan battlefield, but today, 4 abnormal people had appeared all at once. Simo Yang, it's a rare sight. Fight me. Zhao Kuang's eyes were burning with battle intent as he strode towards Simo Yang. Just what I wanted. Simo Yang said coldly. An ancient halberd appeared in his hand, and a terrifying aura emanated from it. Roar. Zhao Kuang let out a terrifying roar. He was like an ancient wild beast, wild and violent. He wore a glove on each hand as he punched towards Simo Yang. The heavenly halberd in Simo Yang's hand also came slashing down. Clang! A terrifying tremor burst forth, as if the entire city was shaking violently. Zhao Kuang and Simo Yang's bodies trembled as they both retreated. Again. Zhao Kuang roared, and the battle intent in his eyes grew even stronger. He once again pounced towards Simo Yang, but Simo Yang was not afraid at all. With the heavenly halberd in his hand, he slashed towards Zhao Kuang. The two of them began an intense battle. Chapter 1611, 1611 The Tomb of the Reincarnation King. Both Simo Yang and Zhao Kuang's attacks were overbearing, brutal, and direct. The two of them kept clashing, and the entire city kept on rumbling. The battle was like a frenzy, and strange phenomena appeared in the sky above the two of them. The root of a spirit body was the bloodline. It was transformed from the bloodline. Therefore, in a sense, the phenomenon of heaven and earth was also a manifestation of the bloodline. Just like Lu Ming's heaven and earth anomaly, which was 9 dragons dancing in the air, the bloodline that he had condensed into a spirit body was the bloodline of the 9 dragons. In the sky, the 4 heavens favorites fought intensely. After more than 100 moves, there was still no clear winner. Later on, Zhao Kuang went crazy and actually pulled Wan Tiancheng and Huang Ling into the battle, turning it into a 4-person battle. This was the 100-clan battlefield. There was no need for a reason to fight, only to temper one's body. The 4 of them fought chaotically, and the scene became even more intense. After another 100 moves, it was still difficult to determine the winner. In the end, the 4 of them split into 4 sides and stopped the battle at the same time. Ha ha ha, it's great today, it's great. Let's fight another day. Zhao Kuang laughed in a somewhat sinister manner, then turned around and left. Then, Simo Yang also left. In the end, Wan Tiancheng and Huang Ling looked at each other with a cold glint in their eyes. They then turned around and flew into the city. The peak battle had ended, but the commotion it caused was far from over. Many people were guessing why these geniuses had come. Something big must have happened nearby, or some treasure had appeared. Usually, only the appearance of a treasure would attract these prodigies to the periphery of the 100-clan battlefield. As for Lu Ming, he had already returned to his room in the inn. The combat strength of Wan Tiancheng and the rest was indeed very terrifying, giving Lu Ming a lot of pressure. Just like Su Ran, Wan Tiancheng, Huang Ling, and the others were all second-stage half-saints, but their combat strength was far stronger than Su Ran's. Even if Lu Ming used all his strength now, he would not be a match for them. He had to continue to break through, and break through even faster, so that he could compete with these heaven's favorites. Lu Ming sat cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree. With the help of the heavenly Tao stone, he was focused on comprehending the path. During this period of time, he didn't plan to go to the Azura stage to fight. Now that Wan Tiancheng was here, he would definitely know that he used the 10,000 soldiers scroll. In the time that followed, Lu Ming's main body was focused on Tao enlightenment, while his secondary body would sometimes go out in disguise to gather information. 3 days later, a piece of news spread throughout the city. According to the news, the reason why Huang Ling, Zhao Kuang, and the others had come from the depths of the 100-clan battlefield was that there might be a map and key to the tomb of the reincarnation emperor nearby. The news caused an uproar in the city. There had always been a legend in the 100-clan battlefield. It was said that the battle between the 100 ancient races was extremely brutal. Too many experts had died. Countless saints and emperors had died. It was said that after the war ended, some supreme experts entered this place and built a tomb for the 9 fallen emperors, burying them in the tomb. These 9 tombs were known as the 9 Thearchs' tombs by later generations. It was said that there was a great emperor's inheritance in the 9 emperors' tomb. However, for so many years, countless heaven's favorites have entered the 100-clan battlefield in hopes of finding the 9 Thearchs' tomb. However, it was all to no avail. No one knew where the tomb was. For countless years, only one of the 9 emperors' tombs had ever appeared, and it was obtained by a genius. That genius was the 1,000-kill martial emperor. It was said that the 1,000-kill martial emperor had relied on the inheritance of one of the 9 emperors' tombs to cultivate to the level of a martial emperor and create the terrifying 1,000-kill mansion. A monarch's tomb could form a huge power. How tempting was this? Now, it was said that the reincarnation emperor's tomb, one of the 9 emperors' tombs, was about to appear. The map and key of the tomb would appear nearby, which naturally shocked countless people. The facts proved that it was true. After that, Wan Tiancheng, Huang Ling, Zhao Kuang, and the others sent out their subordinates to search the nearby area. It was said that the light of reincarnation would appear at the place where the key and the map of the tomb of the reincarnation king appeared. It wasn't just the subordinates of the heaven's favorites. Countless heaven's favorites in the city also rushed out to find the key and map to the tomb of the reincarnation king. In the blink of an eye, another dozen days passed. It had been almost 2 months since Lu Ming entered the 100-clan battlefield. His cultivation was improving every day. Now, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th level martial royal realm. At this moment, a piece of news spread through the city. Someone had discovered a place that was suspected to be the light of reincarnation. It was in a place further outside the 100-tribe battlefield. Countless people rushed to that place. Lu Ming took the mountain and river diagram and followed the crowd to that place. After crossing a long distance, they came to a land of mountains. Then, they found a crack and jumped down. This is the place. Lu Ming revealed a look of surprise. This was the place where Lu Ming had hunted for demonic fiend crystals previously. The map and key to the tomb of the reincarnation king were actually in this place. Surprised, Lu Ming followed the crowd and jumped into the crack. The demonic creatures here actually have demonic evil crystals. It's really demonic evil crystals. I didn't find such a treasure land before. Soon after entering, many people discovered the situation here. The demonic creatures here actually contain demonic evil crystals. Immediately, many people began to glow with blazing light. They were looking for demonic creatures to kill and take the demonic evil crystals. There's really a light there. Lu Ming looked in one direction. There was a strange light emerging in that direction. The light seemed to have 6 different colors that were constantly changing, like the 6 paths of reincarnation. That was the light of reincarnation. I didn't see it here before. Did it just appear recently? Lu Ming was very surprised. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air was heard. Lu Ming saw Wan Tiancheng, Huang Ling, Zhao Kuang, and Sima Liang flying in that direction at the fastest speed. Then, the other heaven's favorites also flew in that direction. Let's go. Lu Ming stepped into the air and followed behind the group. Not long after, they came to a valley. What a coincidence, it's actually here. Lu Ming was even more surprised. This was because this valley was the valley that he had lured Wan Tiancheng to previously. In it, Lu Ming found 10 dragon bones, and his dragon god combat body evolved into the heavenly spirit body in one go. The light of reincarnation was actually emitted from the depths of this valley. There really wasn't any when he was here. Roar! 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 In the valley, the demonic creatures roared, and their roars shook the sky. Obviously, many people had entered and alarmed the demons. Oh no, there are so many powerful demons. They are all at the half-saint realm. Ah, there are also sage realm demons. Not good, retreat, quickly retreat. The valley was in a mess. Many people rushed out desperately, but there were still screams. Many people were killed by the demonic creatures. No, the demonic creatures in this valley are too strong. We can't rush in at all. Many people sighed. They were extremely unwilling, but there was nothing they could do. Chapter 1612, 1612. The half-saint puppet. The demonic creatures that appeared in the valley were almost all half-saint demonic creatures. There were even a few saint realm demonic creatures. Even a half-saint would be killed, let alone an 8th or 9th level martial royal realm demonic creature. While many people were watching unwillingly, Lu Ming had already quietly rushed into the valley. While no one was paying attention, Lu Ming quietly changed his body. His secondary body entered the mountain and river diagram while his main body stepped out of it. Roar! A half-saint demonic creature charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming had a thought. Behind him, the aura of the prison-suppressing steel was released. The demonic creature's eyes showed a trace of fear. It roared and retreated. Lu Ming was unimpeded and he rushed into the ground covered in bones. The light of reincarnation was emitted from the depths. So this isn't the end, there's a deeper place. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The last time, he stopped here and did not go any further. He did not expect that there was another universe in the depths. Roar! Roar! In the valley, the demonic creatures roared like thunder, and the holy aura filled the air. A huge demonic bear was chasing after a young man. That young man was Zhao Kuang. Zhao Kuang didn't dare to face the Saint Realm demonic creature head-on. He dodged it with his movement technique and managed to charge into the depths of the valley after paying a price. The demonic bear roared but did not continue to pursue. Lu Ming swept his gaze around but did not see Wan Tiancheng, Huang Ling, and Sima Liang. He assumed that the three of them had also successfully rushed in. With their combat strength, even if they couldn't defeat the saint demonic creature, they could still rush in. There were still people who wanted to rush in. They were all people at the half-saint level. Lu Ming saw Su ran. However, these people's combat strength was much weaker. Under the attack of the saint demonic creature, they could only retreat with injuries and escape in a hurry. Some of the first-stage half-saints were even killed by the saint demonic creatures. Buzz! The prison-suppressing steel emerged behind Lu Ming. The demonic creatures retreated when they saw him. Lu Ming passed through the obstacles easily and went inside. In the depths of this land of bones, there was a valley that led all the way in. There were no demonic creatures in this valley. Lu Ming rushed here and put away the prison-suppressing steel. Then, he concealed his aura and walked into the valley. The valley was very long, but there was no danger. Lu Ming moved forward smoothly. Not long after, they reached the end of the valley. In front of them, a huge mountain appeared, blocking their way. There was a cave on the wall at the bottom of the mountain. The light of reincarnation was coming from this cave. A figure was standing in front of the cave. It was Simo Yang. Boom! Boom! A deep rumble came from the cave. It seemed like an intense battle was going on inside. Simo Yang looked at Lu Ming as if he had heard some movement. When he saw Lu Ming's cultivation level, his eyes were filled with surprise. He had not expected that a person at the 8th level of the Martial Emperor realm would be able to come here. Boom! Boom! The rumbling sounds in the cave became even more intense. Then, a burly figure rushed out of the cave. It was Xiao Kuang. At this moment, Xiao Kuang was in a sorry state. There was blood at the corner of his mouth and his breathing was weak. Damn it! So many puppets. How troublesome. Damn it! Xiao Kuang cursed. Then, he looked around and exclaimed in surprise when he saw Lu Ming. Inside the cave, the sound of explosions continued to ring out. Then, another figure rushed out of the cave. It was Wan Tiancheng. Like Xiao Kuang, he was also injured and in a sorry state. There was a cold glint in his eyes. He swept his gaze across the room and it landed on Lu Ming. Kid, it's you. Wan Tiancheng's eyes burst out with a shocking killing intent. Of course it's me. Why? Is it because the gift I gave you was too valuable that you're especially grateful? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Especially the word present, he emphasized it. You're looking for death, kill. Wan Tiancheng's murderous intent was as cold as a knife. He took a step forward and his sword Qi soared to the sky, slashing toward Lu Ming. He hated Lu Ming to the core. Lu Ming had actually killed 2 of his subordinates right in front of him. That was just a small matter. Later on, Lu Ming had even lured him to this valley and used the demonic bear's power to deal with him. At the critical moment, Lu Ming had even launched a sneak attack on him and severely injured him. Such a great humiliation made him want to skin Lu Ming alive. Now that he saw Lu Ming, he immediately killed him. A pagoda was suspended above Lu Ming's head. The bubble was hiding inside. Bubble's cultivation base was also improving rapidly. She refined the energy of the time and space spinel every day and had reached the 9th level of the martial royal realm. The space-time domain enveloped Lu Ming. With a sway of his body, he dodged Wan Tiancheng's attack. That's the space-time domain. That pagoda has the power of the space-time domain. Xiao Kuang and Simo Yang's eyes lit up. You want to leave? Die! Wan Tiancheng coldly shouted. His body glowed with light spots, and saint weapons appeared one after another. The saint weapons whistled, and the battle weapon Qi was everywhere. I know the 10,000 soldiers' art too. Lu Ming shouted. His body glowed as well, and holy weapons appeared. Seeing this scene, Wan Tiancheng's pupils suddenly enlarged, revealing a look of disbelief. He roared, the 10,000 soldiers' art. How is that possible? How did you manage to successfully cultivate it? Even Xiao Kuang and Simo Yang were dumbfounded. The 10,000 soldiers scroll required the comprehension of the 10,000 soldiers' territory to be cultivated successfully. As for the 10,000 soldier realm, it was extremely difficult for ordinary people to comprehend it. However, because of the Wan family's physique, only some geniuses could comprehend the 10,000 soldier realm and cultivate the 10,000 soldier scroll. But how did Lu Ming manage to cultivate the 10,000 soldiers scroll? While Wan Tiancheng was in a daze, Lu Ming dashed into the cave with the help of bubbles. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the cave as soon as he rushed in. The first thing he saw was Feng Ling. At this moment, Huang Ling seemed to be on the verge of turning into a phoenix. Her entire body was bathed in the flames of the undying celestial phoenix as she fought fiercely against more than 10 figures. A puppet. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the crowd and realized that although the dozen or so figures fighting with Huang Ling were in human form, they had no signs of life. They were all puppets. The combat strength of these puppets was extremely powerful. They were actually equivalent to the third stage of the half-saint realm. They were existences that were affected by the laws. Lu Ming scanned the cave again and realized that the cave was very wide. In the deepest part of the cave, there were 2 stone pillars. Something was suspended on each of the stone pillars. One of them was a jade talisman while the other was a pitch-black key. The map and key to the tomb of the Reincarnation King. This was the first thought that came to Lu Ming's mind. However, around the stone pillar stood several humanoid puppets. At a glance, there were hundreds of them. All of them were equivalent to the third stage of half-saint. Kill! Lu Ming had only taken a few glances when some of the puppets let out cold shouts and charged toward him. Chapter 1613, 1613 Chapter 1613 1 for each boom. One of the puppets threw a punch, and the air let out a terrifying whistling sound. The power was extremely shocking. Lu Ming activated the prison-suppressing heavenly art and threw a punch as well, matching the puppet's punch. There was a loud noise and Lu Ming's body swayed slightly. He felt his arm go numb. What powerful strength! Lu Ming could feel that the puppet's strength was comparable to Su Ran's. Su Ran's cultivation was at the second stage of the half-saint realm, but he had a superior earth spiritual body. He could fight above his level, which was equivalent to an ordinary third stage half-saint. Kill! 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 Then, more puppets pounced at Lu Ming. There were more than a dozen of them. With so many puppets attacking at the same time, the power was shocking. No wonder Wan Tiancheng and the others were forced to retreat. These puppets were even more difficult to deal with than martial artists of the same level, because they were not afraid of death. Their skin was as hard as copper and their bones were as hard as iron. When they fought, their combat strength was extremely shocking. Lu Ming did not dare to take on so many puppets head-on. With the help of bubbles, his figure flickered continuously and he dodged the puppets. Behind him, at the entrance of the cave, Wan Tiancheng also rushed in, but he was also besieged by many puppets. The strength of a single puppet was limited, but when a dozen of them worked together, their might was terrifying. Even a heaven's favorite like Wan Tiancheng was suppressed. In the end, he unwillingly retreated. With the help of the bubbles, Lu Ming was in danger. On the other side, Huang Ling was bathed in divine fire. She kept charging inside, trying to break through the puppet's encirclement and get the map and key of the tomb of the Reincarnation King. The undying heavenly phoenix body is indeed extraordinary. It has the characteristic of undying and its vitality is too strong. Lu Ming was shocked. Huang Ling's combat strength might not be much different from Wan Tiancheng and the others, but her vitality was so strong that she was dozens of streets ahead of them. The phoenix spirit was bathed in divine flames and had already been hit by the puppet many times. However, she still stubbornly charged forward. No, these puppets seemed to be arranged according to a formation. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The cave was huge, and there were at least a few hundred puppets scattered all over the place. However, Lu Ming realized that there were at most a dozen puppets attacking them at the same time. The rest of the puppets were motionless. For example, when he dashed past certain areas, some of the puppets would stop attacking but new puppets would join in and attack Lu Ming. The number was always around a dozen. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. These puppets seemed to be arranged according to a certain pattern. With a thought, he stepped forward. The Taiji formation disc floated above his head, and small Taiji diagrams appeared one by one, scattering on the ground. Buzz! The ground glowed, and lines appeared, forming a huge array. It's indeed a formation. Lu Ming muttered. He realized that each of the puppets was standing at a critical point of the formation. Those puppets attacked according to the operation of the array. Therefore, no matter where they went, there would be more than a dozen puppets attacking at the same time. Moreover, because of the enhancement of the array, the power of more than a dozen puppets was very shocking. If it were a dozen ordinary third-stage half-saint warriors, they would definitely not be able to resist a Heaven's Pride expert like Wan Tiancheng. They might even be killed by him. But now, a dozen puppets at the third stage of half-saint realm could suppress Wan Tiancheng, Zhao Kuang, and the others, and even injure them. This was because of the formation's support, which made the power of the puppets extremely shocking. On the other side, Huang Ling looked at Lu Ming after seeing the formation on the ground. When she saw two Lu Mings, her eyes flashed with shock. At this moment, the second body took a step forward and disappeared into Lu Ming's glabella again. On the other hand, Lu Ming's main body took a step forward. When he took this step, the attacks of the dozen puppets strangely hit empty air. Then, Lu Ming took another step forward. Just like before, the attacks of the puppets hit the air again as if they were not aimed at Lu Ming. A smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. He had already identified the weak point of the array. Every step he took landed on the weak point of the array. It could also be said that it was the blind spot of the array, causing the attacks of the puppets to land on empty spots. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! Lu Ming was taking a leisurely stroll, taking one step to the east and one step to the west. The puppets' attacks were all aimed at Lu Ming's side, and none of them hit him. Lu Ming was heading towards the map and key of the tomb of the Samsara King at high speed. On the other side, Huang Ling was a little anxious. Her phoenix cry rang out, and she charged forward without caring about her injuries. The two of them quickly approached the two stone pillars. About a minute later, the two of them broke through the puppets' encirclement almost at the same time and rushed towards the two stone pillars. In the area around the two stone pillars, there were no puppets standing. Moreover, when they broke through the encirclement of the puppets and arrived at this area, the puppets stopped chasing them and returned to their original positions, standing still. Buzz! Lu Ming grabbed a jade token while the black key was in Huang Ling's hand. Then, their eyes met and the atmosphere was a little tense. Brother, the jade token in your hand should be a map, right? Why don't you give me the map and let the map merge with the key? Otherwise, it'll be useless if we each have one. I'll go with you. Huang Ling said in a tender voice. A powerful aura emanated from her body and locked onto Lu Ming. Indeed, it's useless to have only one. You have the key, but you can't find the tomb of the Reincarnation Emperor. I have the map. Even if you find the tomb, you can't enter it. How about you give me the key and let the map and the key join together? Lu Ming laughed and slowly retreated, appearing to be on guard. Lu Ming, you deserve to die. They got the map and key to the tomb of the Reincarnation King. At this moment, a few angry roars could be heard. It was Wan Tiancheng, Zhao Kuang, and Simo Yang who had rushed in. They naturally saw that the map and key were in the hands of Lu Ming and Huang Ling. However, they were besieged by a group of puppets. They did not have the immortal body of the phoenix spirit and could not withstand the siege of the puppets. After a while, they had no choice but to leave the cave. Your name is Lu Ming. Huang Ling blinked her eyes. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. He focused all his attention on Huang Ling, afraid that she would suddenly attack. Lu Ming, I'm afraid you can't keep the map of the tomb of the Samsara King if I attack. Said Huang Ling. Oh, really? I don't think so. Lu Ming smiled as his glabella glowed. He stepped forward and stood side by side with Lu Ming. The Tai Chi formation disc floated above his head, and a powerful aura filled the air. A clone? No, it's the same person. Amazing, truly amazing. Huang Ling's gaze shifted between Lu Ming's main body and secondary body, and she revealed a look of surprise. Huang Ling, although you have the undying heavenly phoenix body, the word undying is only relative. You're not really undying. It's just that you have a strong life force. Just now, when you charged over, I'm afraid you've been injured quite badly. Your combat strength has been greatly reduced. If we really fight, you might not be my opponent. Lu Ming smiled faintly, looking very confident. Chapter 1614, 1614 Chapter 1614 Joining hands. Lu Ming's words made Huang Ling's eyes flicker. Indeed, she had been injured when she had charged in. The undying phoenix body was not really undying. It was just that her life force was stronger. If her power had reached a certain level, she would still die. Even if you can defeat me and get the map, can you get out? There are 3 experts waiting outside. Lu Ming continued to speak, causing Huang Ling's eyes to flicker even more. After a while, Huang Ling's gaze suddenly shifted and she revealed a smile. It was as beautiful as a peony blooming. To be honest, the phoenix spirit was very beautiful. Among the people Lu Ming had met, only Xian Yanqing and a few others could compare to her. Lu Ming, why don't we join forces? Huang Ling said. Join forces? How do we join forces? Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he asked. Let's work together and get out of here. You have the map and I have the key. We can work together to find the tomb of the reincarnation emperor and open it. We can share the treasures and inheritance in the tomb. What do you think? Said Huang Ling. That's a good idea. All right, I agree. Lu Ming pondered for a while and agreed. There was no better way than this. Lu Ming only had the map in his hands. Without the key, it was useless for him to get the map. With his combat strength, it was almost impossible to snatch the key from Huang Ling and escape from the encirclement of Wan Tiancheng and the other 2. Therefore, the best plan was to cooperate with Feng Ling outside the cave. Wan Tiancheng's group of 3 surrounded the cave with unsightly expressions. Huang Ling, Lu Ming has a grudge against me. As long as you kill him and give me the map in his hands, we'll join forces and rush out of here together. What do you think? Suddenly, Wan Tiancheng opened his mouth, and his voice was transmitted into the cave. Zhao Kuang and Sima Liang's expressions changed. If that was the case, they wouldn't be able to stop Huang Ling and Wan Tiancheng if they joined forces. Feng Ling, if you give me the map, I can work with you. In addition, I can agree to an additional condition of yours. As long as I can do it, I will not speculate. Zhao Kuang immediately spoke up and promised even more generous conditions. Huang Ling, if you work with me, you can take more of the treasures in the tomb of the reincarnation king. He said. Sima Liang also spoke up, wanting to join forces with Feng Ling. In their opinion, it would not be a problem for Huang Ling to kill Lu Ming. In the cave, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. What they said might be a better idea for you. What do you think? Are you already tempted? Who do you think I am? Was he going back on his word? Since I've agreed to join forces with you, I won't go back on my word. Huang Ling's beautiful eyes glared at Lu Ming and she said unhappily. Is that so? Lu Ming seemed to be smiling. Of course. I need to recuperate now, Huang Ling said seriously. How about we rush out together after I've fully recovered? Rush out? Lu Ming pondered for a moment. After a while, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. If you recover to your peak condition, can you hold back Zhao Kuang and Sima Liang for a few minutes? If I was at my peak and used my secret skill, I could hold them back for 3 minutes. I can't do it any longer. What are you trying to do? Said Huang Ling. Murder. Lu Ming said coldly. Kill. To kill Wan Tiancheng. Huang Ling's beautiful eyes widened. That's right, but you'll need to wait for a while. Lu Ming nodded. Huang Ling's eyes revealed a trace of shock. Lu Ming actually said that he wanted to kill Wan Tiancheng. She found it unbelievable. Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the peak of the LV8 Martial Emperor realm. How could he have killed 10,000 spirits? With my current cultivation, it is indeed very difficult, so I need to break through. And you, don't you also need to heal your injuries? Lu Ming said. That's right, wasn't the puppet formation here the best place to train? Since he was not in a hurry to go out, he might as well cultivate here. When he broke through to the 9th level Martial Emperor realm and killed Wan Tiancheng, he would have some confidence. Alright, then we'll wait here for a while. With that, Huang Ling walked to the side and sat down cross-legged, her body covered in flames as she began to heal her injuries, acting as if she trusted Lu Ming very much. Of course, she would not let her guard down. If Lu Ming did anything unusual, she would instantly unleash a powerful attack. Lu Ming smiled and returned to the mountain and river diagram. However, he stepped into the puppet formation. All of a sudden, the puppets charged at Lu Ming and attacked him with terrifying attacks. Lu Ming did not step into the weak point of the array to avoid it. Instead, he fought the puppets head-on. However, these puppets could even injure Wan Tiancheng and the others, so their power was really strong. After a few moves, Lu Ming was injured and spat out blood. He had no choice but to retreat to the safe area beside the stone pillar. At this moment, Huang Ling, who was recuperating, opened her eyes in surprise. The body of 9 dragons? The bloodline you awakened before was the bloodline of 9 dragons? That's right. The 9 dragons and the undying celestial phoenix are both in the top 10 battle beasts. The dragon and the phoenix are auspicious. Don't you think we are a match made in heaven? Looking at Huang Ling's beautiful face, Lu Ming could not help but tease her. Oh, really? If your cultivation can catch up to mine, perhaps I can consider it. A strange look flashed in Huang Ling's eyes as she smiled slyly. How long will it take for my cultivation to catch up to yours? It just so happens that there are puppets guarding the door now, so it's an auspicious time. Why don't we do some things now? Lu Ming's eyes darted all over Huang Ling's curvaceous body. He walked towards her with a wicked smile. You. What are you trying to do? So you're also a lecherous person, don't come over. When she saw Lu Ming walking over, Huang Ling's expression changed. Her body was filled with phoenix flames as she stared at Lu Ming nervously. Ha ha ha. Lu Ming suddenly laughed out loud. He turned and walked to the side, sitting cross-legged to recuperate. Detestable. Huang Ling gritted her teeth. She knew that she had been tricked by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's injuries were not serious. Soon, his injuries were fully healed. After he recovered, Lu Ming did not step into the puppet formation immediately. Instead, he fell into deep thought. For now, he had the 10,000 soldiers scroll, 13 stored attacks, the prison suppressing heaven skill, and the chaos sky-turning seal. That was enough for now. Right now, he needed to cultivate a movement technique domain martial skill to make up for his lacking movement technique. Lu Ming searched through Jiu Long's memories, and soon, his eyes lit up. He found a movement technique. Wind Thunder Steps. In order to cultivate the thundering wind steps, one had to comprehend the domain of wind and lightning. This wasn't a problem for them. Wind Thunder Steps combined the characteristics of wind and thunder. It moved like lightning and had the agility of the wind. It was a top-tier movement technique. Lu Ming began to study it carefully. A few hours later, Lu Ming stepped into the puppet formation again. More than a dozen puppets charged at him. Lu Ming's body was covered in light spots. 10 holy weapons flew out. Lu Ming held a long spear in one hand and a combat sword in the other, and they attacked separately. Chapter 1615, 1615 9th level Martial Emperor Realm Boom. Boom. The long spear and the combat sword clashed with the two puppets. Lu Ming's body trembled and he was forced to retreat. That is the 10,000 soldiers' art. This time, Huang Ling was shocked by Lu Ming again. Lu Ming had actually cultivated the 10,000 soldiers' art. This was a unique technique of the Wan family. She felt that she could not see through Lu Ming anymore. Buzz. Buzz. At the same time, a few more puppets attacked Lu Ming from the other side with lightning speed. Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly and focused his mind. Just as the puppets' attacks were about to hit him, he moved his body suddenly. A flash of wind and lightning appeared and he dodged the attacks of a few puppets by a hair's breadth. He was using the thundering wind steps. Then, he attacked from the left and the right, launching a spear and a combat sword, blocking the siege of the other two puppets. Lu Ming did not use the puppet formation's weakness as an excuse to avoid the attacks. He used his combat strength to battle the puppets and train himself. However, there were more than a dozen puppets in the puppet formation that were far more powerful than him. He could only use all his strength and suppress his potential to the limit to fight against the puppet formation. This time, Lu Ming barely managed to withstand 10 moves before he fell into a fatal crisis. He had no choice but to step on the weak point of the puppet formation to avoid the attacks and retreat to a safe area. After resting, he stepped into the formation again to fight the puppets. Every time, Lu Ming had to push himself to the limit. When he was in a fatal danger, he would use the weakness of the array to avoid the attack. In this way, although Lu Ming could not enter the state of life and death, he still improved at a rapid pace. As soon as he started cultivating the thundering wind steps, he improved the fastest. After a series of breakthroughs, he soon reached the 3rd level. As for the chaos domain, it was also progressing very quickly and was starting to charge towards the 9th level. Outside the cave, Wan Tiancheng, Zhao Kuang, and Sima Liang all had gloomy expressions. They stood outside, staring at the cave. Hearing the violent rumbles coming from the cave, the three of them had different expressions. What's happening inside? Could it be that Huang Ling is dealing with that kid? The few of them guessed. Well, no, once we go in and take a look, let's go. Wan Tiancheng said coldly and rushed into the cave. Zhao Kuang and Sima Liang followed suit. As soon as they rushed into the cave, they were besieged by the puppets. At the same time, they saw Lu Ming fighting with the puppets. The three of them revealed doubtful expressions and left the cave. How did that brat fight against the puppet? Don't tell me that after they obtained the map and the key, they would also be attacked by the puppets when they came out? Super Maniac was confused. It should be so. Sima Liang said. If they can rush over, they can definitely rush out. We just have to wait here. When they come out, well, kill them. Then, well, use the map and the key. The three of us will rely on our own abilities. Wan Tiancheng's gaze was very cold. He must kill Lu Ming. That kid, how can he cultivate the 10,000 soldiers scroll? Is it because of his domain? That kid's domain is extremely similar to the legendary chaotic domain, but is there really anyone in the world who can cultivate the chaotic domain? Wan Tiancheng's mind was constantly spinning with thoughts. The three of them had been standing guard outside the cave. Inside the cave, Lu Ming was making the best use of his time to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. In the cave, within the puppet formation, Lu Ming's figure flickered non-stop as he fought with the puppets. Lu Ming's spear was like a dragon, and his sword was like a sky-breaking sword. The power was shocking as he constantly collided with the puppets. Boom! 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 After more than 10 consecutive collisions, Lu Ming used the powerful force to drift backward and return to the safe zone. What's Lu Ming's background? He's so talented. He's improving almost every day. In such a short time, he's actually advanced from the 8th level to the 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm. Huang Ling's eyes revealed shock. During this period of time, Huang Ling's injuries had long healed. She had also fought with the puppets, but her improvement was not as fast as Lu Ming's. My domain has reached the middle stage of the 9th rank. Lu Ming smiled faintly. In fact, 5 days ago, Lu Ming's territory had broken through to level 9. Then, he had devoured a large number of raw gemstones and raised his cultivation to the 9th level Martial Emperor realm in one go. Now, the chaotic domain had been upgraded again, reaching the middle stage of the 9th level. Could it be that I was born to fight? I'm improving really fast in the midst of fighting. Even Lu Ming was surprised by his own improvement. In a life-and-death battle, he was always highly focused and his thoughts were unusually active. Whether it was martial arts or territory, his speed of comprehension was extremely shocking. By now, Lu Ming had already cultivated the Thundering Wind steps to its maximum level. His every move was like a storm and his speed was shocking. Now, Lu Ming was waiting for an opportunity. That was the inscription secondary body, because the inscription secondary body was also about to break through. He had already lit up 8 spirit lamps when he was refining his second body. Now, he would soon light up 9 spirit lamps. As long as the Ming Lian clone lit up the 9 spirit lamps and controlled the Tai Chi formation, it would be even more powerful. That would be the time for them to attack. Now that I've made a breakthrough in my cultivation, I should be able to seal even more holy weapons. Lu Ming thought to himself. Then, he started to cultivate the 10,000 soldiers art. He took out a holy weapon and started to seal it. A light spot lit up on Lu Ming's chest. The holy weapon had been successfully sealed. This was the 11th holy weapon. Back then, Wan Tiancheng only sealed 12 saint weapons. I haven't reached my limit yet, continue. Lu Ming took out another holy weapon and started to seal it. Not long after, the 12th holy weapon was successfully sealed. At this moment, Lu Ming finally felt that he had reached his limit. If he continued to seal, his body might not be able to take it. With a single thought, the 12 acupuncture points on his body glowed, and 12 saint weapons appeared, floating around him. What kind of freak is this? He's only at the 9th level of the martial royal realm and he can seal 12 holy weapons. Huang Ling was shocked. She was already numb to Lu Ming's perverted behavior. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The inscription refining secondary body had begun to break through. In the mountain and river diagram, between the eyebrows of Ming Lian's clone, a brilliant spiritual fire leaped. The golden spiritual fire was extremely vigorous, like a divine fire burning. The Tai Chi formation disc floated above his head. Light scattered and poured into his second body. In the second Buddha's sea of consciousness, there were 8 golden spirit lamps. They were extremely bright and the flames were extremely bright. Suddenly, the 9th spirit lamp was ignited and golden flames emerged. Buzz! The Tai Chi formation disc emitted rays of light that surged into Lu Ming's sea of consciousness, causing the flame on the 9th spirit lamp to burn brighter and stronger. At this moment, spiritual rings appeared on the body of the clone. There were a total of 9 spiritual rings. The first 8 spiritual rings had 10 light spots on them, representing perfection. Only the last golden spiritual ring had 9 light spots. As long as his next body lit up 10 mental lamps, Lu Ming would be able to use the mental fire, combined with inscriptions, to communicate with the laws of heaven and earth and enter the second stage of the half-saint in one go. Chapter 1616 Battle. The cultivation of the Tao of inscription was completely different from the martial arts before the Saint realm. The Tao of inscription didn't require the comprehension of intent or even a domain. Inscriptions could actually be regarded as a simplified version of laws. Inscriptions could connect directly with heaven and earth, borrowing the energy of heaven and earth. Therefore, after training to the peak of the 9th rank, one could directly communicate with the laws and comprehend them. However, after reaching the Saint realm, there was basically no difference between the inscription Tao and the martial Tao. After all laws and Taos returned to their origin. No matter what Tao it was the same in the end. When one reached the Saint realm, the way of inscription also condensed the Saint heart, transformed spiritual power into Saint power, and controlled the laws, which was the same as martial arts. At this moment, Lu Ming revealed a smile and looked at Huang Ling. Now, let's go. Are you confident? If you don't have a way, well, rush out directly at the end and don't put ourselves in danger," said Huang Ling, still a little worried. Lu Ming's plan was to kill Wan Tiancheng. Although Lu Ming had broken through to the 9th-level martial emperor realm, could he really succeed? "Don't worry. Even if they can't kill us, they can't do anything to us." Lu Ming smiled, looking very confident. He then stood up and walked towards the puppet formation. "Follow my steps." With that, Lu Ming stepped into the puppet formation. More than a dozen puppets immediately launched attacks at Lu Ming, but their attacks all missed. Then, he took another step forward. Huang Ling followed closely behind Lu Ming and stepped on the spot where Lu Ming had just stepped on. Just like that, Huang Ling followed Lu Ming's footsteps and stepped on the weak point of the formation. They passed through the puppet formation easily, and the two of them stepped out of the cave entrance one after another. "They're out." As soon as Lu Ming and Huang Ling stepped out of the cave, they heard a cold shout. Then, 3 terrifying auras burst out and locked onto Lu Ming and Huang Ling. Especially Wan Tiancheng, whose body was bursting with cold killing intent. "You're finally out. Huang Ling, I've given you a chance before, but you didn't know how to cherish it," Wan Tiancheng said indifferently. "Enough nonsense. Wan Tiancheng, didn't you want to kill me? Let's fight, die," Lu Ming shouted as his aura burst forth. He took a step forward and the earth rumbled. 12 light spots appeared on his body and 12 saint weapons floated in the air. Each of them was shining with a brilliant light, and their battle weapon chi soared into the sky. Lu Ming held the black dragon spear in his hand and thrust it at Wan Tiancheng. 12 saint weapons? Die, die. Wan Tiancheng roared, and 12 holy weapons appeared on his body. He held a combat sword and slashed at Lu Ming. His eyes were filled with deep jealousy. Lu Ming could actually seal 12 holy weapons. One must know that when he sealed the 12 holy weapons, he had already reached the half-saint level. Clang! The black dragon spear and Wan Tiancheng's combat sword clashed heavily against each other. The combat weapon chi kept clashing against each other, causing loud rumbling sounds. Lu Ming could feel a surge of terrifying energy continuously charging at the black dragon spear. That was the power of the law. Even Lu Ming's level 9 chaos domain seemed to be unable to withstand it. Buzz! The black dragon spear vibrated and Lu Ming retreated 5 to 6 steps back. Wan Tiancheng's eyes turned cold. He did not expect that Lu Ming could actually block his attack. He only took a few steps back and was not injured. Buzz! At this moment, Huang Ling rushed to the side. "Where are you going?" "Stay here." Zhao Kuang and Simo Yang both shouted as they chased after Huang Ling. Huang Ling, who was flying at high speed, suddenly stopped. Her body was covered in flames. Bathed in the flames of the undying celestial phoenix, her entire body seemed to have turned into flames. The cry of a phoenix was heard. A huge undying celestial phoenix, bathed in flames, rushed out of Huang Ling's body and flew in the air. Boom! Boom! Following that, a large area of flames spread out, enveloping Zhao Kuang and Simo Yang, forming a cage of flames. "Lu Ming, you have to be quick. I can only hold them off for 3 minutes at most. Finish this quickly." Huang Ling's voice rang out from the flames. Then, a loud explosion could be heard from the flames, followed by Zhao Kuang's beast-like roar. "A quick battle? Ha ha ha, don't tell me Huang Ling is counting on you to kill me." Wan Tiancheng laughed like he had heard a funny joke. "Kill." Lu Ming didn't waste any time. He didn't have much time. He took a step forward and immediately used the divine sword technique. His gaze was like a sword that blasted into Wan Tiancheng's body and onto the spiritual god. However, Wan Tiancheng's body only trembled slightly before returning to normal. He coldly shouted, "A soul attack technique, but it's useless against me. Is this your trump card? You want to kill me with this?" It'll let you know how naive you are. Whoosh! Wan Tiancheng held the combat sword in his hand, and the sword chi was like a rainbow. The other 11 combat weapon chis were added to the combat sword, making the power of the combat sword reach an astonishing level. He slashed at Lu Ming. Spiritual God Defensive Treasure. Lu Ming's eyes moved. Obviously, Wan Tiancheng had a spiritual God defensive treasure, which was why he could block Lu Ming's divine sword technique. This was normal. It was normal for a heaven's favorite like Wan Tiancheng to have a spiritual God defensive treasure to protect his soul. After all, it was impossible to defend against soul attacks. If one did not have a spiritual God defensive treasure, they would die without even knowing how they died. Kill! Lu Ming shouted again and cast the divine sword technique. Although the other party had a spiritual God defensive treasure, the divine sword technique could still interfere. At the same time, Lu Ming held the black dragon spear in his hand and exploded his true essence to the extreme, charging towards Wan Tiancheng. Boom! Boom! The two of them exchanged a few moves in a row, but Lu Ming was still at a disadvantage. Is this your combat power? You still want to kill me? Naive. Wan Tiancheng sneered and attacked Lu Ming. His attacks became even more violent, and his sword chi was wild. Lu Ming's gaze was calm. At this moment, the space between his eyebrows glowed and a pagoda floated out. Buzz! Suddenly, a strange fluctuation came from the pagoda. A transparent bubble appeared around Wan Tiancheng and enveloped him. Space-time domain. You have a treasure with the space-time domain. Break. Chapter 1617 Chapter 1617 Suppressing Wan Tiancheng let out a long roar. 12 saint weapons surrounded his body. There were all kinds of saint weapons, and among them, there were several defensive ones. Every saint weapon was surrounded by the power of laws. Wan Tiancheng used his defensive holy weapon to protect his body. At the same time, he brandished his combat sword and clashed with the blade of time and space, fighting Lu Ming. For a time, the two sides fought to a draw. Wan Tiancheng was indeed very powerful. He had a low-class heavenly spiritual body and his body was as sharp as a divine weapon. Coupled with the law of 10,000 weapons, he could destroy everything. Even with the help of bubbles, Lu Ming could only fight to a draw with Wan Tiancheng. Lu Ming had already broken through to the 9th level of the martial royal realm. If he was still at the 8th level, he would not be a match for him. Lu Ming and Bubbles were at a disadvantage in terms of the laws. The two of them were only using their domains. Domain and laws were two completely different concepts. No matter how strong the chaos domain and the space-time domain were, they were still a little inferior to Wan Tiancheng's 10,000 soldier law. Of course, if Lu Ming advanced further and his 9th level domain turned into an ultimate domain, his power would increase sharply and it would not be a problem for him to suppress Wan Tiancheng. Boom! Boom! The two sides continued to collide with each other, and in the blink of an eye, dozens of moves had been exchanged. Damn it! How can this kid be so strong? Wan Tiancheng roared in his heart. When he first met Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the peak of the 6th level martial emperor realm. In Wan Tiancheng's eyes, Lu Ming was an ant that could be easily killed. But now, only a short time had passed, and Lu Ming's cultivation had soared to the 9th level martial emperor realm. The speed of his progress was so fast that even Wan Tiancheng was shocked. However, he didn't care about a LV9 martial royal realm martial artist at all. He could even kill a heaven's favorite with a low-class heavenly spiritual body with one slap. However, Lu Ming had relied on his own combat strength and a treasure that could release the space-time domain to fight him to a draw. This made him even more determined to kill Lu Ming. Otherwise, when Lu Ming advanced further and broke through to the half-saint realm, he would not be a match for him at all. Kill! Kill! As Wan Tiancheng roared, 2 more spots of light lit up on his body. 2 more holy weapons flew out from the 2 dots of light. There were 14 saint weapons in total, and when the battle weapon chi of the 14 saint weapons were combined, the power was even stronger. As expected, Wan Tiancheng was still holding back. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sword radiance broke through the air and the bubble spacetime domain was forcefully broken by Wan Tiancheng. At the same time, Lu Ming was forced to retreat. Die, die! Wan Tiancheng roared, his eyes flashing with a shocking killing intent as he charged at Lu Ming. Primal Chaos Sky-Turning Seal. Lu Ming muttered and released the holy weapon in his hand. A Chaos Sky-Turning Seal appeared in his palm. Lu Ming held the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal and smashed it at Wan Tiancheng. Boom! An earth-shattering boom was heard. Lu Ming and Wan Tiancheng's bodies trembled at the same time and they retreated. Impossible! Wan Tiancheng roared in his heart. Lu Ming still had an ultimate move that he had not used. He had already done his best, but he still could not do anything to Lu Ming. This was hard for him to accept. 60% of the power of the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal is still a little weak. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Just now, he had used 60% of the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal's power. In fact, when Lu Ming cast the 10,000 Soldiers art, the power was already very strong. It was very close to the power of the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal. After all, Lu Ming had only cultivated the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal to the 4th level. Lu Ming's 10,000 Soldiers art could not do anything to his opponent. Even if he used 60% of the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal's power, it would not be much stronger. However, Wan Tiancheng was already shocked. Bang! Lu Ming took a step back and immediately took a step forward. On his palm, another 60% of the power of the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal was condensed. The Chaos Sky-Turning Seal grew rapidly and pressed down on Wan Tiancheng. Break! Wan Tiancheng roared. The 14 saint weapons surrounded him and converged into a terrifying sword chi. It rushed up and blasted on the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal. Boom! The Chaos Sky-Turning Seal trembled and then collapsed. The combat weapon chi of the combat sword in Wan Tiancheng's hand also dissipated and he took a few steps back. Lu Ming, you can't do anything to me. When Zhao Kuang and Simo Yang break through the Phoenix Spirit's barrier, it'll be the day of your death. Wan Tiancheng roared. Lu Ming's eyes were cold and he did not say a word. In his palm, another Chaos Sky-Turning Seal condensed and blasted towards Wan Tiancheng. Wan Tiancheng resisted with all his might. At this moment, Lu Ming's glabella glowed and Ming Lian stepped out. The Tai Chi formation disc floated in the air and a Tai Chi pattern appeared, pressing down on Wan Tiancheng. The Tai Chi pattern had a terrible offensive and sealing power. Facing the joint attack of the Tai Chi pattern and the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal, Wan Tiancheng was finally no match for them. He was blown back and slid on the ground, leaving a deep gully. He spat out a mouthful of blood. What's going on? A clone? No, the same person. Looking at the two Lu Mings, Wan Tiancheng was shocked. How could the same person have two bodies? Without giving him time to think, Lu Ming's main body and secondary body attacked Wan Tiancheng again. Previously, the reason why Lu Ming did not make a move at the beginning was that he wanted to catch Wan Tiancheng off guard and injure him severely. Don't even think about killing me. Wan Tiancheng roared as 14 saint weapons circled around him. He already understood that he was not Lu Ming's match. He started to focus on defense, hoping that he would not make any mistakes. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's attack blasted towards Wan Tiancheng. The 14 holy weapons around Wan Tiancheng glowed and surrounded him with the power of law, defending him with all his might. A terrifying explosion was heard. Wan Tiancheng was sent flying and coughed up blood again, but he was still blocked. Ha, you can't kill me. Zhao Kuang and Simo Yang are about to break free. When that happens, you'll be the one to die. Wan Tiancheng laughed like a madman, his face full of malevolence. On the other side, the battle between Huang Ling, Zhao Kuang, and Sima Liang was also rumbling non-stop. The immortal cage that Huang Ling had transformed into was not going to last much longer. Is that so? Lu Ming's eyes remained calm. Walala. The void trembled as Bubbles made his move. One after another, space-time blades slashed towards Wan Tiancheng. Clang clang clang. The blade of time and space continuously slashed at Wan Tiancheng's saint weapon, causing it to shake violently. Buzz. At this moment, the sky trembled, and a chaos sky-turning stamp the size of a mountain condensed. The might that this chaos sky-turning stamp emitted was much more terrifying than the previous one. The chaos sky-turning seal with 100% of its power. Boom! This time, Lu Ming used all his strength. The chaos sky-turning seal with 100% of its power pressed down on Wan Tiancheng. Wan Tiancheng's pupils contracted sharply, and a trace of fear flashed through his eyes. Block it! I must block it, die! Wan Tiancheng roared in his heart. The true essence in his body boiled as if it was going to burn. His spirit body shone and laws revolved around him. He squeezed out all the power in his body and burst out. At this moment, Wan Tiancheng seemed to have entered another mysterious realm, and his potential was suppressed to the extreme. This is the feeling of being invaded by the laws of nature. As long as I don't die this time, I will be able to break through the third stage of the half-saint realm in less than a month. Wan Tiancheng was overjoyed. Chapter 1618 Chapter 1618 Killing Wan Tiancheng. He did not expect that he would be pushed to the limit by Lu Ming and his potential would explode. He had achieved a major breakthrough. As long as he found a place to cultivate in seclusion for a month, he would be able to break through to the third stage of the half-saint realm. The premise was that he had to survive. Block it. I must block it. As long as I can hold on for a little longer, Zhao Kuang and Sima Liang will be able to break through the tight encirclement. I won't die. As long as I break through the third stage of the half-saint realm, the laws will be activated and my strength will skyrocket. At that time, it will be their time of death. Wan Tiancheng roared in his heart. The 14 saint weapons glowed as if they had fused together, forming a powerful defense. Boom! The chaos sky-turning stamp at its full power pressed down and bombarded Wan Tiancheng's defense. The rocks under Wan Tiancheng's feet directly exploded, and the ground cracked, leaving a huge pit. As for the saint weapons around Wan Tiancheng's body, one by one, they were blown away. In the end, only a few were left floating around him. Wan Tiancheng's face turned pale and he vomited blood. At this time, the Tai Chi formation plate above the second Buddha's head glowed and another Tai Chi pattern floated. This time, the Tai Chi pattern suddenly changed. The yin-yang fish actually split apart and turned into two swords, one black and one white. The two yin-yang fish swords emitted a terrifying wave and slashed towards Wan Tiancheng. The two yin-yang fish swords were extremely powerful. Wan Tiancheng's eyes revealed a look of despair. He tried to use his remaining power to control the remaining saint weapons around him to block, but they were all knocked away by the yin-yang fish sword. The yin-yang fish sword continued to slash towards Wan Tiancheng. No! Wan Tiancheng shouted in despair. He had just achieved a major breakthrough. After a while, he would be able to break through the law tank. At that time, he would be the king of the 100-clan battlefield. He would not even fear a saint. But now, he was in a desperate situation. How unwilling was he? The yin-yang fish sword slashed across. One of them chopped off Wan Tiancheng's head, while the other pierced through his dantian, destroying his spirit. Wan Tiancheng, dead. Boom! At this moment, a loud explosion was heard. Huang Ling's immortal cage was broken. She was forced to retreat. Her face was pale and there was blood at the corner of her mouth. It was obvious that Huang Ling had paid a huge price to trap Zhao Kuang and Sima Liang. Zhao Kuang and Simo Yang rushed out of the flame cage. However, they retreated at the same time and looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming had actually killed Wan Tiancheng. How could a LV9 martial royal realm expert kill Wan Tiancheng, a peerless heaven's favorite who had entered the second stage of the half-saint realm? This had far exceeded Zhao Kuang and Simo Yang's expectations. The two of them looked extremely solemn. Since Lu Ming could kill Wan Tiancheng, it meant that he could kill the two of them. At the side, Huang Ling's gaze at Lu Ming was also filled with shock and complicated feelings. Previously, when Lu Ming said that he wanted to kill Wan Tiancheng, she was completely skeptical. She was taking a gamble. If they could not kill Wan Tiancheng, they could only break out of the encirclement with all their might. He did not expect that Lu Ming could really kill Wan Tiancheng. Furthermore, it happened within a few minutes. Now, it's your turn. Lu Ming's cold eyes looked at Zhao Kuang and Simo Yang. The two of them had a drastic change in expression. Let's go, well, leave this place first. Simo Yang shouted in anger as he rushed out of the valley. Zhao Kuang followed after him. Although they were unwilling, they had no choice but to give up. Now, there were only the two of them left, and so were Lu Ming and Huang Ling. Although Huang Ling was injured, it would be easy for her to stop one of them. Since Lu Ming was dealing with the other person, they would be in danger. In such a situation, they could only escape. Only Huang Ling and Lu Ming were left in the valley. Huang Ling looked at Lu Ming warily and said, "Lu Ming, your combat strength is really amazing. You can even kill Wan Tiancheng. You won't attack me, will you?" Lu Ming's combat strength was too shocking. She could not help but overthink. If Lu Ming attacked and killed her, he would be able to control the map and key of the tomb of the Samsara King. Although her undying celestial phoenix body had a strong vitality, she could not tell if Lu Ming had any more trump cards. What do you think? Lu Ming looked at Huang Ling with a half-smile, causing her expression to change slightly. She could not help but take a step back. Ha ha ha. Lu Ming laughed heartily. Don't worry. You didn't attack me before I made a breakthrough. Why would I attack you now? I'm not that kind of person. You're injured. You should recuperate first. I need to recover too. Lu Ming sat cross-legged at the side after he finished speaking. He took out a large pile of raw gemstones and began to devour them to recover. It was undeniable that Wan Tiancheng was indeed powerful and extremely difficult to kill. Just now, in order to kill Wan Tiancheng, Lu Ming had already used all his trump cards. His main body and secondary body cooperated with each other, and with the help of bubbles, he was able to kill Wan Tiancheng. Moreover, Lu Ming had consumed a lot of his essential core in this battle. He had less than half of it left. Ming Lian's secondary body kept Wan Tiancheng's saint weapon and storage ring. Then, he took a step forward and entered his main body, disappearing. Seeing that Lu Ming was recovering at the side, Huang Ling secretly heaved a sigh of relief. She patted her chest and then sat down cross-legged as well. Her body was filled with the undying flames as she began to heal. About half an hour later, the two of them got up at the same time. Let's leave this place first, yes, Lu Ming said. He then headed out with Huang Ling following closely behind him. Roar! When Lu Ming and the rest arrived at the land of white bones, a half-saint demonic creature roared and pounced at Lu Ming. The 9 seals of the Gate of God. Lu Ming moved his hands and 8 sealing gates appeared, sealing the half-saint demonic creature. At the same time, Lu Ming moved his body and grabbed the demonic evil crystal of the half-saint demonic creature with one claw. Now, such an ordinary first-stage half-saint demonic creature was no match for Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming could kill it at will. Roar! Roar! Then, 2 more half-saint demons pounced at him. One of them had reached the second stage of the half-saint realm, the stage of comprehending the laws of nature. Lu Ming called Bubbles to help and trapped the other party with the space-time domain. He then easily obtained the demonic fiend crystals. Roar! A deafening roar was heard. A huge demonic creature, emitting a terrifying aura, pounced at Lu Ming. A vast saintly might hit him in the face. It was a saint-level demonic creature. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. A saint-level demonic creature was definitely not something he could defeat now. Even if he joined forces with his second body and Bubbles, they would not be a match for the saint-level demonic creature. Behind him, the prison-suppressing steel appeared and expanded rapidly. The saint demonic creature roared in fear and turned to run. However, the other half-saint demons also ran away and disappeared. Lu Ming was rather speechless. After using the prison-suppressing steel, not only did the saint demonic creature run away, but even the half-saint demonic creature also ran away. However, if he put away the prison-suppressing steel, the saint demonic creature would come again, which would ruin his plan of hunting for some half-saint demonic fiend crystals. Chapter 1619, 1619 The Depths of the 100 Clan Battlefield, Prison-Suppressing Steel. On the side, Huang Ling was shocked. During this period of time, she had lost count of how many times she had been shocked. It was all because of Lu Ming. How many more secrets were Lu Ming hiding? Huang Ling realized that she could not see through Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming took out the prison-suppressing steel and the two of them passed through the valley easily. When they were close to the valley, Lu Ming put the prison-suppressing steel away. More than half a month had passed and there were still a few people loitering outside the valley. When they saw Huang Ling and Lu Ming, their eyes lit up. However, they looked at Huang Ling with a serious expression. Obviously, Zhao Kuang and Sima Liang had said something after they came out. These people should know that Huang Ling and Lu Ming had obtained the map and key to the tomb of the Samsara King. Get lost, or die, kill. Huang Ling shouted coldly, her body exuding a cold killing intent. Those people's expressions changed drastically, and then they turned around and left. Lu Ming smiled and flew towards the exit with Feng Ling at top speed. Lu Ming, I'm really curious. Which emperor-level force are you from? Flying in the air, Huang Ling asked curiously. I'm not from an emperor-ranked power. Lu Ming said. Not from an emperor-ranked power? How is that possible? Huang Ling was extremely shocked. He wasn't from an emperor-ranked power, yet he had such battle prowess. How was this possible? Huang Ling initially thought that Lu Ming was a genius disciple from some old sect. Lu Ming smiled and did not explain further. Soon, the two of them arrived at the crack and flew out of it. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the top of a mountain. Lu Ming, what do you think of the map? Let's see where the tomb of the Reincarnation King is. We can go there now. Said Huang Ling, all right. Lu Ming nodded and took out the jade card. He sank his spiritual senses into it and his expression changed after a quick scan. How is it? Seeing the change in Lu Ming's expression, Huang Ling quickly asked. I'm afraid we can't find the tomb of the Reincarnation King. Lu Ming said. I can't find him. What's going on? Could this map be fake? They had spent so much effort to get the map and key to the tomb of the Reincarnation King. If it was fake, it would be a huge blow to them. Fake might not be fake, see for yourself. Lu Ming said. Then, he channeled his vital essence into the jade card and a picture appeared in the air. There were mountains and lakes in the pattern. It was obviously a map. However, this map was incomplete. It was easy to tell that this was a corner of a complete map. Why is there only one corner? Huang Ling's expression turned ugly. Take a look at your key, is there anything unusual? Lu Ming said. Huang Ling quickly took out the key and examined it carefully. Indeed, they found a number on the key, 3. 3. This must be a number. It seems that the key and the map of the tomb of the Reincarnation King are not a set, but divided into several parts. Only by getting all these parts can we find the tomb of the Reincarnation King and open it. Lu Ming said. It was obvious that the map they had obtained was incomplete, and there was no way that there was only one key. What a pity. Huang Ling sighed. Only a part of it was useless. Where were they supposed to find the rest? I have a question. How did you know that the map and key of the tomb of the Reincarnation King were nearby? Lu Ming asked. When I was traveling, I was ambushed by the natives, but they were killed by me instead. I learned about it from the natives who ambushed me. Huang Ling explained. A native? It's obvious that Zhao Kuang, Simo Yang, Wan Tiancheng, and the others have also received the news. That's why they're here. Lu Ming frowned. Most likely so. Huang Ling nodded. If that's the case, more people might know about it. So I guess that there might be other maps and keys in other places. I'm afraid we have to cooperate with those who have the maps and keys to open the tomb of the Reincarnation King. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said. It's very likely. It's said that when the 1,000-kill martial emperor obtained the tomb of the Slayer Emperor, there were many keys to open it. It's most likely the same this time. Huang Ling's eyes lit up. She then looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, let's go to Darkwater City. Perhaps we can get some information there. Darkwater City. Lu Ming was puzzled. I don't think you've entered the depths of the 100-clan battlefield yet. The natives have built 4 huge cities in the depths of the battlefield. Darkwater City is one of them. It can be said to be one of the largest cities in the 100-clan battlefield. Almost all of the strongest heaven's favorites from the major forces have gathered near these 4 cities. He must be quite powerful to have the map and key to the tomb of the Samsara King. Therefore, we might be able to get some useful information from the Darkwater City. Huang Ling explained. The gathering place of the most powerful heaven's favorites. Alright, let's go to Darkwater City. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he agreed readily. With his current cultivation, there was no longer any value in training in the periphery of the 100-clan battlefield. He could only encounter stronger opponents in the depths of the 100-clan battlefield. After their discussion, the two of them flew toward the depths of the 100-clan battlefield. Along the way, they met some young heaven's favorites. However, when Huang Ling's aura was released, the heaven's favorites' expressions changed. None of them dared to challenge them. The two of them hurried on at full speed. Their speed was astonishing, and in just 2 days, a huge city appeared in front of them. From a distance, this city was vast and majestic, like a giant beast crouching in front of it. This was the Darkwater City. In front of the gate of Darkwater City, there was a huge lake. The strange thing was that the water in the lake was dark and looked pitch black. There were many figures standing in the air above the lake. At a glance, all of them were young people, both men and women, but all of them had powerful auras. Half-saint? Lu Ming glanced over. Most of these young people were half-saints. Some of them even exuded a faint power of law. They were obviously in the second stage of half-saint. Only a few of them were below the half-saint level. So many experts. As expected of one of the 4 largest cities in the depths of the 100-clan battlefield. Lu Ming was shocked. At a glance, they were all half-saints and all geniuses. It was a magnificent sight. Boom! Boom! On the surface of the lake, there were continuous rumbles. The two figures were fighting fiercely. The lake water rolled under the terrifying force, causing thousands of waves. A red figure and a blue figure were surrounded by laws. The power of the laws kept clashing. They were 2 experts at the second stage of the semi-sage realm. The others were all watching the battle between the two. What's going on? Lu Ming had some doubts. Chapter 1620, 1620 Chapter 1620 Crushed with a single stomp. From what Lu Ming knew, every city had an Azura arena. Why were these young geniuses fighting here? Lu Ming, Darkwater City is one of the 4 largest cities in the 100-clan battlefield. The local powerhouses in this city are very powerful. I'm afraid there are powerhouses at the peak of the Bright Saint realm in charge. Huang Ling explained. The natives had grown up in the 100-clan battlefield, so they had adapted to the chaotic laws of the 100-clan battlefield. Some of the extremely talented ones could cultivate to the Saint realm. However, the strongest could only be at the Bright Saint realm. A peak Bright Saint was almost the strongest existence in the 100-clan battlefield. A peak Bright Saint is too powerful. With my strength, I'm afraid I won't be able to fight back against a peak Bright Saint. Therefore, almost no one dares to make a move in Darkwater City. However, there's only one Azura platform, and the supply is in short supply. Therefore, many Heaven's Pride experts will fight outside the city. Huang Ling continued to explain. Lu Ming nodded. This was very easy to understand. Outside the city, the native experts would not care. Lu Ming and Huang Ling's arrival attracted many people's attention. Many people looked at the two of them. When most of the people saw Feng Ling, their expressions changed, revealing a serious and fearful look. Lu Ming thought to himself that it seemed that Huang Ling was very famous in Darkwater City and had a lot of deterrence. It seemed like the heavenly spiritual body was a terrifying existence even in the depths of the 100-clan battlefield. Of course, there were also many people who looked at Lu Ming in surprise. A LV9 Martial Royal Realm martial artist dares to come to Darkwater City. It's rare. Any LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert who dares to come to Darkwater City is a person with extremely strong combat strength and is extremely confident in his own combat strength. This man is with Huang Ling. Could he also be a person with extremely strong combat strength? It's hard to say. Some whose combat strength is not strong enough will also come here to see the world. Some people looked at Lu Ming and discussed in low voices. Bang! Bang! At this moment, a young man stepped on the void, causing the void to thump loudly. He arrived in front of Lu Ming, and the aura of the peak of the 9th level Martial Emperor realm emanated from his body. The powerful aura locked onto Lu Ming. It's Huang Qi. This guy has his eyes on that LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert. Huang Qi's combat strength is very strong. With his cultivation at the peak of the 9th tier Martial Royal Realm, he once fought with an expert at the first stage of the Semi-Saint Realm for more than 100 moves before being defeated. It seems that he's excited to see his prey. Around them, someone spoke up with the mentality of watching a show. A LV9 Martial Royal Realm martial artist who dares to come to Darkwater City must be very confident in his combat strength. Now, let's fight. Holy Phoenix Spirit, you won't interfere, will you? Huang Qi looked at Lu Ming with fighting spirit. His last sentence was directed at Huang Ling, as you wish. Huang Ling spread her hands casually and took a few steps back, indicating that she would not care. However, when she looked at Huang Qi, her eyes were filled with pity. This guy actually challenged Lu Ming. He was really courting death. If he knew that Lu Ming had killed Wan Tiancheng, who knew what kind of expression he would make? You're not my match. Lu Ming said calmly. He was not interested in a 9th level Martial Royal Realm martial artist at all. He did not have any training effect on himself. Lu Ming did not even bother to move. Of course, he was speaking the truth. But in Huang Qi's ears, he thought that Lu Ming was being arrogant. Presumptuous. I've even fought a half-saint before. You're just an early LV9 Martial Royal Realm martial artist, yet you're so arrogant. Well, know whether I'm your match after this battle. Huang Qi's gaze turned cold, and the aura on his body became stronger and stronger. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly turned cold. That was because he felt a sharp qi attacking his back at a terrifying speed. Without thinking, Lu Ming suddenly turned around and threw a punch. Clang! Lu Ming's punch landed on a long sword that was as thin as a cicada's wing. A terrifying fist force exploded and a figure appeared out of thin air. The figure was sent flying by the fist force. This figure was dressed in a black robe. His entire body was covered by the black robe, and only a pair of eyes were exposed, revealing a look of shock. "It's the assassins from the Thousand Kill Mansion," someone shouted. Buzz. The assassin from the Thousand Kill Mansion used his body technique and turned into a phantom, flying away at high speed. His body exuded the aura of the ultimate domain. This assassin had the cultivation of the first stage of the half-saint realm, which was almost the same as the two assassins who had killed Lu Ming. "The assassination failed and you want to leave? Did I allow you to?" Lu Ming said coldly. Wind and thunder chi flashed on his body. With a hiss, Lu Ming's body rushed out like a bolt of lightning, cutting through the void and chasing after the assassins from the Thousand Kill Mansion at an amazing speed. The assassins of the House of 1,000 Kills were as fast as lightning. However, Lu Ming's thundering wind steps had been cultivated to perfection. With the help of the air-frozen bead's energy, his speed was even more amazing, far beyond the assassins of the House of 1,000 Kills. Many people only saw a flash of lightning and Lu Ming's figure appeared in the sky above the assassins from the House of 1,000 Kills. Then, he stomped on the assassins. Lu Ming had activated the prison-suppressing heavenly art with this kick. His entire being seemed to have turned into a huge prison-suppressing steel, suppressing everything. Boom! This kick was so destructive that it destroyed all the attacks and defenses of the assassin from the Thousand Kill Mansion. Then, it stomped heavily on his head. Bang! The other party's head and body exploded in the air like a watermelon. One move, dead. This assassin was also a heaven's favorite. He had a superior earth spiritual body and a cultivation base of the first stage of half-saint. In the Azure region, although he could not be ranked among the top 10 geniuses, he was still one of the stronger ones. However, he was killed by Lu Ming in an instant. Lu Ming had been in the 100 Clan battlefield for a few months. Unknowingly, his abilities had improved by leaps and bounds. What powerful battle strength! Many of the young heaven's favorites in the surroundings were shocked. Lu Ming's cultivation was very clear. He was only at the early stage of the 9th level martial royal realm. However, he had killed a first-stage half-saint genius with one move. This kind of combat strength was shocking. Many of the people present were at the first stage of the half-saint realm. They would probably end up the same if they encountered Lu Ming. Some half-saints in the second stage who had comprehended nomological laws looked very serious. Another heavenly spiritual body. Someone said solemnly. Even in Darkwada City, the center of the 100-tribe battlefield, there were not many heavenly spiritual bodies. Every one of them was extremely powerful. The heavenly spiritual body was not as common as cabbages. Some of the monarch-level forces that did not have a strong fate might not even have a single heavenly spiritual body. For example, there was no heavenly spiritual body in the Tsang region. As far as Lu Ming knew, there was no heavenly spiritual body in the Cloud King Mountain. Meanwhile, Huang Qi was completely stunned. "Do you still want to continue fighting?" Lu Ming's gaze turned to Huang Qi. This simple sentence made Huang Qi's face and ears turn red. I, Huang Qi stammered for a long time, but couldn't say a word. Chapter 1621, 1621 The Phoenix Palace. Back then, he had fought with a heaven's favorite at the first stage of the half-saint realm for 100 moves before he was defeated. He had always been proud of this. However, he was nothing compared to Lu Ming now. Lu Ming had killed a first-stage half-saint with one stomp. In his battle with Lu Ming, he probably did not even need to use one foot. He only needed half a foot. Previously, Lu Ming was telling the truth when he said that he was not qualified to fight him. However, he still said that Lu Ming was arrogant. He was clearly the ignorant one. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted coldly. Huang Qi left with a red face. This person is very strong. No wonder he can be with Feng Ling. Birds of a feather flock together. It's normal for two heavenly spiritual bodies to be together. However, this person's cultivation is too low. It's hard for him to compete with the other heavenly spiritual bodies. That's right, unless his cultivation improves. Lu Ming naturally heard these comments, but he only smiled faintly and did not take it to heart. Huang Ling, do you have a way to get rid of the slaughter mark of the Thousand Kills mansion? Lu Ming asked as he walked in front of Bai Lin. He had the killing mark of the Thousand Kill mansion on him. As long as the assassins of the Thousand Kill mansion were within a certain range, they could find him through the killing mark. He was not afraid, but he was very annoyed. Huang Ling shook her head and said, as far as I know, it's extremely difficult to remove the slaughter mark from the Thousand Kill mansion. The more assassins you kill, the stronger the slaughter mark will be. It's easier for the assassins to sense it. It's difficult to remove the slaughter mark unless it's an emperor-level expert. Emperor-level expert. Lu Ming shook his head, his mouth full of bitterness. Where was he supposed to find an emperor-level expert? There was definitely no one in the 100 Clan battlefield. Even outside of the 100 Clan battlefield, the Azure continent didn't even have a single emperor-level expert. There were monarch-level powerhouses in other territories, but they were high and mighty and looked down on the world. Why would they help Lu Ming, a martial emperor? It seemed that he had to be more careful in the future to prevent assassinations from the Thousand Kill mansion. His main body couldn't stay in the mountain and river diagram every day. He needed to comprehend the great Tao of heaven and earth and practice fighting, unlike his secondary body, who stayed in the mountain and river diagram every day and could use the Tai Chi formation disc to enhance his mental fire. Lu Ming, even the other emperor-level forces are afraid of the assassins of the Thousand Kill mansion. Generally, they don't dare to kill the assassins of the Thousand Kill mansion. At most, they will just cripple the other party. Once you are entangled by the slaughter mark, you will face endless assassinations. You must be careful in the future. Huang Ling warned. Lu Ming nodded. The two of them did not stop and headed towards Darkwada City. Darkwada City was several times larger than the city that Lu Ming had stayed in previously. The young men walking on the streets all had powerful auras. Most of them were at the half-saint level. Not long after, Huang Ling brought Lu Ming to a huge palace. Above the palace, the words Phoenix Palace were written in large and magnificent characters. Lu Ming, from the Emperor-level force, the Phoenix Palace. This is the Phoenix Palace's temporary base in the 100 Clan battlefield, Huang Ling explained. The 100 Clan battlefield was a training ground for the geniuses of many Emperor-ranked forces. Therefore, many powerful Emperor-ranked forces would buy palaces in the huge city of the 100 Clan battlefield as a temporary stop. After all, he had been training outside and fighting against experts. He would be tired and would need a place to rest and go into seclusion. Holy Maiden. As soon as she entered the palace, a young man and a young woman bowed to her. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that Huang Ling had a high status in the Phoenix Palace. She was the saint. Huang Ling nodded and led Lu Ming into the depths of the Phoenix Palace. On the way, they met no less than 20 young men and women. These young men and women were handsome and beautiful. Each of them was a half-saint and had superior earth spiritual body. Like the Dragon God Valley, almost all the people in the Phoenix Palace had awakened the Phoenix bloodline and cultivated the Phoenix combat body. So many geniuses. It seems like Phoenix Palace is a terrifying existence even among Emperor-level forces. Along the way, Lu Ming was secretly shocked. They had encountered so many Heaven's favorites on their way here. Any one of them would be a top Heaven's favorite in Sangzhou. Some of them had unfathomable auras and were surrounded by laws. They were obviously experts in the second stage of half-saint. Even a half-saint with a body of laws could compete with the top 10 geniuses in the Azure continent. This was probably only the tip of the iceberg. One should know that no one above the Saint realm could enter the 100-clan battlefield. How could the Phoenix Palace not have any geniuses above the Saint realm? Definitely. The Yuan continent is huge and there are too many heaven's favorites. The Tsang region is just a small place. Many thoughts flashed past Lu Ming's mind. Now, his thoughts were slowly changing. His vision was no longer limited to the Azure continent. The deity would eventually become his stepping stone. His opponents would be the supreme talents of the emperor-level forces in the Yuan continent. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight. He felt his blood boiling. "Lu Ming, you can stay here temporarily," he said. Bai Ling said as they arrived in front of a courtyard. "All right." Lu Ming nodded. "During this period, I will send people to Dark Water City to inquire about the news of the tomb of the Samsara King. If there are other maps of the tomb, the appearance of the key will definitely be exposed. I will inform you as soon as I have news." Said Huang Ling, "It seems that I was right to cooperate with you. It can save me a lot of trouble." Lu Ming smiled. "Then how are you going to repay me?" Huang Ling smiled and looked at Lu Ming with a flirtatious expression. Such a devastatingly beautiful woman had said such ambiguous words. Even with Lu Ming's composure, his heart could not help but jump. "Didn't I say that you and I are a dragon and a phoenix? Why don't we just have sex?" Lu Ming said with a smile. "Fuck, is this how you repay me? Wouldn't that be too easy on you?" Huang Ling rolled her eyes at Lu Ming and left the place with light steps. Lu Ming laughed, pushed open the courtyard door, and walked in. The courtyard was huge. Lu Ming walked into one of the rooms and entered the mountain and river diagram. He sat cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree and started to think quietly. The geniuses of the various monarch-level forces are gathered in the Dark Water City. Although there aren't many people like Huang Ling, there are still many of them. Who knows, there might be geniuses even stronger than her. If the tomb of the Reincarnation King opens, the people who enter will be the strongest. I'm still not strong enough. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. Right now, with his main body and secondary body working together, he could suppress someone like Wan Tiancheng. Together with Bubbles, they could catch him off guard and kill him. However, if Lu Ming's main body was alone, he was still not a match for such a person. He was still a little lacking. He had to improve his strength as soon as possible. Now, he had two main ways to improve his strength. One was to improve his cultivation. Once his cultivation improved, his strength would naturally soar. The second was the breakthrough of the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal. He had already cultivated the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal to the peak of the 4th level. Once he broke through the 5th level, the power of the Sky-Turning Seal would be even stronger, and he would be able to use it more easily. Chapter 1622, 1622 Chapter 1622 Taking the initiative. Lu Ming sat cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree, cultivating wholeheartedly. 3 days passed by in a flash. Too slow. Without a war, this kind of bitter cultivation is too slow. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and muttered to himself. In fact, he had comprehended the path under the path understanding ancient tree, and with the help of the heavenly Tao stone, his cultivation speed was not slow. However, compared to the speed of tempering himself in battle, it was naturally much slower. There are as many Heaven's Pride experts as clouds here. It just so happens that there's someone to train with. Wouldn't it be a pity to miss it? Lu Ming smiled and changed into a long black robe. He exited the mountain and river diagram and headed out of Darkwater City. After leaving Darkwater City, he looked at the lake not far away. Sure enough, he saw many young men standing in the air above the lake. There were also 2 young men who were engaged in an intense battle. Lu Ming's palm glowed and an Azura mask appeared in his hand. He put it on his face and instantly, he looked more ferocious. Lu Ming had once used this Azura mask when his cultivation level was not high. With its material, a high-level martial emperor would be able to see through it with a single glance. However, Lu Ming covered it with his essential core and others could not see through it. With the Shura mask on, Lu Ming stepped forward toward the youths, a cold aura emanating from his body. Some people were alarmed and looked in Lu Ming's direction. They were surprised to see him wearing the Azura mask. A LV9 martial royal realm expert wearing a mask. He's trying to act mysterious and mysterious. Someone snorted coldly and looked at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. Boom! All of a sudden, Lu Ming made his move. He took a step forward and appeared above the person who had spoken. He took a step forward. A foot that reached up to the sky was formed, like the foot of a god, and it stepped toward the person who spoke. You're looking for death. The man let out a long howl and his vital essence exploded. His aura soared and condensed into a saber, slashing at Lu Ming. The saber also carried the power of laws. This person was an expert at the second stage of the half-saint realm. He had an upper-class earth spiritual body, and his combat strength was amazing. When he wielded his blade, it was earth-shattering. Just when many people thought that Lu Ming would be killed in one move, the result was beyond everyone's expectations. Boom! The giant foot stomped down, and the saber collapsed. The giant foot continued to stomp down. The second stage half-saint was smashed into the lake below by Lu Ming's foot. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. His fist glowed and he threw a punch. A terrifying fist force seemed to penetrate the void and blasted toward the lake below. Boom! The water in the lake rose to the sky, and the waves rippled. The water in the area was blasted away by the fist force, revealing the bottom of the lake. There was a huge pit at the bottom of the lake. The man at the second stage of the half-saint realm was lying in the pit. He was no longer breathing. He had been killed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and sucked. His quintessential essence was like a ribbon, sweeping up the other party's storage ring. The lake water flowed backward. That proud son of heaven would remain at the bottom of the lake forever. So strong. Many people were shocked. Although the man in the Azura mask was only at LV9 martial royal realm, he was not a ghost. He was a terrifying existence. Which force is this heaven's favorite from? Some people guessed. After all, there were simply too many emperor-ranked powers. Every day, there would be geniuses from emperor-ranked powers joining. No one knew what kind of geniuses would appear. Buzz! Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning and as cold as a knife as he scanned the surroundings. Lu Ming's gaze swept across some people and they could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. You, fight me. Lu Ming's eyes were fixed on a young man in a blood-red robe. He took a step forward and threw a punch at the young man. Having been in the 100 Clan battlefield for a few months, Lu Ming had already gotten used to the rules here. In this place, there were no rules. There were only trials and challenges. In this place, you didn't need to have any reason to attack anyone. Lu Ming was here to fight with experts. He did not want to waste time and took the initiative to attack. Don't think that you can fight me just because you killed a piece of trash. Kill. Seeing that Lu Ming dared to attack him, the young man in the blood-red robe suddenly exploded with a murderous intent. His body was covered in blood-red light. He waved his palm and a blood-red palm print was blasted toward Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming threw two more punches in a row, which collided with the bloody palm print, creating terrifying fluctuations. Lu Ming's fist force was immediately dispersed. The bloody palm print did not stop, carrying a terrifying power of law as it came crashing toward Lu Ming. Amazing! The heavenly spiritual body is indeed powerful. Lu Ming was not shocked. Instead, he was overjoyed. He stepped forward and his essential core surged into the flowing essence gloves. He threw a punch and destroyed the bloody palm print. Then, he continued to attack the blood-robed young man. This blood-robed young man had a heavenly spiritual body, which was on the same level as Huang Ling and Wan Tiancheng. If Lu Ming wanted to take action, he would naturally choose the most powerful people. What use would the weak ones be? Blood Devil Palm. The blood-robed young man roared. A blood-red light filled the air, and his body seemed to turn into a thick blood aura. The law of blood burst out, forming a huge palm print that pressed down on Lu Ming, wanting to smash him into a pulp of flesh. Lu Ming's body glowed. Bright spots glowed and 12 holy weapons appeared. Lu Ming gripped the black dragon spear and infused it with combat weapon qi. The chaos domain covered it and transformed it into a spear's gleam that was as large as a mountain. He stabbed it into the sky. Boom! With a deafening boom, the spear radiance and the bloody palm print disappeared at the same time. That's the 10,000 soldiers scroll. He's from the Wan family. The Wan family has produced such a terrifying heaven's favorite. He's only at the 9th level of the martial royal realm and he's already so powerful. Some people exclaimed in disbelief. Kill the Wan clan. The young man in the blood-red robe was extremely powerful. His killing intent was cold as he stepped into the air. The blood qi on his body became thicker and thicker, as if he had turned into a sea of blood. Voila! A blood-red flag appeared in his hand. He waved the blood flag and it expanded rapidly, bringing the sea of blood with it as it wrapped around Lu Ming. Break! The black dragon spear in Lu Ming's hand was thrown out like a black lightning bolt, piercing through the sea of blood. At the same time, Lu Ming took a step forward with his holy weapon sword in hand. With a slash of the sword, a shocking sword qi was released, as if it was going to split the world. The sea of blood was split open, but after rolling for a while, it gathered together again. The black dragon spear flew back without any success. The sea of blood spread and the blood flag covered the sky, shrouding Lu Ming. Turn into a pool of blood. The blood-robed youth said coldly. The man wearing the Azura mask is finished. He's been enveloped by the flag of blood prison. He's definitely going to die and turn into a pool of blood. That's right. Young Master Blood Prison's combat strength is astonishing. Once the Blood Prison flag is used, even the heavens favorites of the same level as him won't dare to be enveloped by it. Although the masked man's combat strength is terrifying, he's only at the 9th level of the martial royal realm. Another chosen has fallen. Discussions broke out in all directions. Even the two young men who had been fighting fiercely at the beginning had stopped fighting. Lu Ming was enveloped by the blood prison flag, blocking out the sky and the sun. He looked around and saw blood flags and a sea of blood. A terrifying blood aura seeped towards Lu Ming continuously, trying to refine him into a pool of blood. Lu Ming blocked it with his Chaos Realm. The Chaos Realm emitted a series of sizzling sounds. Chapter 1623 The Great Battle with Young Master Blood Prison 12 holy weapons surrounded Lu Ming. He held the black dragon spear in his hand and cast 13 accumulated power strikes. Whoosh! A huge spear radiance stabbed forward as if it was going to pierce through the heaven and earth. However, the spear radiance pierced into the blood sea and a huge passage was created. However, the blood sea churned and condensed again. He didn't exert any strength at all. He felt like he had strength but no place to use it. Buzz! Lu Ming switched to his holy weapon sword and slashed out a vast sword aura. However, it was still useless and could not break the sea of blood. A heaven's spiritual body is indeed powerful. Lu Ming muttered. This blood-robed young man's combat strength was not weaker than Wan Tiancheng's. If Lu Ming summoned bubbles and refined his second body, he would be able to suppress the other party. However, it would be meaningless. Lu Ming was here to train himself. Boom! Boom! At once, Lu Ming began to launch a frenzied attack. He used a long spear, a combat sword, a combat saber, and the prison-suppressing heaven technique. He took turns to attack the vast sea of blood, causing it to tumble and shake violently. However, the blood sea was still not broken. However, such an attack was not completely useless. At least it could stop the invasion of the blood sea and resist the power of refinement. Outside the blood sea, young Master Blood Prison's body was covered in blood light. He stood on the blood sea with a cold look in his eyes. Struggle all you want. Even if you struggle a little longer, you'll still die in the end. The young Master of Blood Prison said coldly. His body became more and more blurry, as if he was about to turn into blood light and merge into the blood sea. Whoosh! 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 In the sea of blood, the sanguine light began to change. It condensed into swords, spears, and other things, and launched an attack on Lu Ming. Good! Lu Ming was fearless. He held a spear in one hand and a sword in the other, clashing with the blood light. In the blink of an eye, a few minutes had passed, and the battle was still ongoing. Awesome, awesome! Ha, your blood sea can't refine me at all. Lu Ming laughed out loud, his voice passing through the blood sea. This made young Master Blood Prison's face turn even uglier. Let's see how long you can last. Young Master of Blood Prison shouted coldly. His body turned into a mass of blood light and merged into the blood sea, making the power of the blood sea even stronger. In the blood sea, in front of Lu Ming, the blood sea churned and suddenly condensed into a big face. It was the face of young Master Blood Prison. Kill! The big face shouted and an endless bloody light shot toward Lu Ming. The black dragon spear shook and turned into a spear radiance, stabbing at the blood light. At the same time, he slashed out with the sword in his left hand, sending out a huge sword chi. Boom! Boom! This time, the power of the blood-red light was even stronger. Lu Ming's body trembled and he could not help but retreat. With just his main body, he wasn't a match for a heaven's favorite like the Blood Prison young master. Kill! At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly shouted and the divine sword technique burst out. It turned into two black sword lights and stabbed into the sea of blood. Ah, it's a soul attack. Young Master Blood Prison's painful groans came from the blood sea. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two sword lights shot out from Lu Ming's eyes and pierced into the blood sea. Young Master Blood Prison screamed in the blood sea again. The blood sea churned rapidly. In the blood sea, young Master Blood Prison's figure reappeared, and his face was a little pale. It was not that he did not have a spiritual god defensive treasure. However, his body had turned into a blood-red light and fused into the sea of blood. This meant that his soul had also been separated. Naturally, the spiritual god defensive treasure had lost its effect. His soul had been injured by Lu Ming in one move. He had no choice but to reform his body so that the spiritual god defensive treasure would be effective. However, when he reformed his body, the power of the blood sea was naturally much weaker. Chaos! Lu Ming shouted softly, his hands moving rapidly. In the sky outside the blood sea, a huge chaos sky-turning seal was formed. It was no smaller than the blood sea. This was the chaos sky-turning seal that Lu Ming had unleashed with all his might. What a terrifying attack! Outside, many paragons turned pale when they saw the huge chaos sky-turning seal in the sky. They felt that if such an attack were to land on them, their souls would definitely be scattered. Boom! The chaos sky-turning stamp pressed down on the blood sea. Boom! 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 The blood sea trembled and churned wildly, resisting the chaos sky-turning seal in a terrifying manner. In the sky, there were continuous explosions. There's an exit. In the blood sea, Lu Ming looked up and his eyes lit up. The Chaos Sky-turning seal collided with the Blood Sea and finally blasted a gap. Lu Ming used thundering wind steps. He took a step forward and his body turned into wind and thunder. He instantly rushed out of the gap and out of the Blood Sea. That guy has rushed out. Some people cried out in shock. It must be known that it wasn't easy to rush out of the Blood Prison Young Master's Blood Sea, and very few people could do it. Boom! At this time, the Chaos Sky-turning seal finally exhausted its energy and exploded due to the constant collisions with the Blood Sea. However, the Blood Sea had also become much more dispirited. It was not that the Chaos Sky-turning seal was not powerful. The main problem was that Lu Ming's cultivation was too much weaker than his opponent's. His opponent's Sea of Blood contained the power of laws. In addition, the Chaos Sky-turning seal was still at the 4th level, so its power was naturally limited. Even if you rush out of the Blood Sea, you will still die. The young master of Blood Prison shouted coldly. The Blood Sea condensed into a blood flag again and he held it in his hand. The blood light on his body continuously poured into the blood flag. The blood flag grew to 100,000 feet and swept towards Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming's long spear swept out and also expanded to 100,000 feet. The two of them collided with each other, and the sky and earth rumbled. Lu Ming stepped into the void and retreated. In a head-on confrontation, he was ultimately no match. Kill, kill, kill. The 10,000-foot blood flag swept toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming put down the black dragon spear. He held a Chaos Sky-turning seal in his hand and threw it at Lu Ming. This primal Chaos Empyrean seal had about 60% of its power. Boom! The Chaos Sky-turning seal was destroyed by the blood flag. But then, a few more chaotic sky-turning seals condensed in Lu Ming's hands and were thrown out in succession. The two of them engaged in an intense battle, exchanging more than 10 moves in a row. Although Lu Ming was at a disadvantage, it was impossible for the young master of Blood Prison to kill him in a short time. Boom! There was another deafening boom and Lu Ming retreated quickly. Ha ha ha, I'm so happy today. Let's fight another day. Lu Ming laughed heartily. His figure flashed and he headed back to Darkwater City. If you want to leave, then stay. The young master of Blood Prison let out a long roar, and his killing intent was as sharp as a blade. Today, he was actually provoked by a 9th-level martial royal realm martial artist. In the final battle, he actually couldn't take down the other party. Where would he put his face? He would not be satisfied if he did not kill Lu Ming. He waved the blood flag and chased after Lu Ming at top speed. However, Lu Ming used the thundering wind steps and his speed suddenly increased. In a flash, he had rushed into the Darkwater City. Damn it! The young master of Blood Prison bellowed, but he had no choice but to stop. Lu Ming rushed into the Darkwater City and found a hidden place to remove his mask. He changed into his clothes and heaved a long sigh. Chapter 1624, 1624. The 10th Golden Crow Prince. The battle just now had almost used up all of his true yuan. However, in this battle, he had almost used up all his strength, but he was still suppressed by his opponent. However, he had also gained new knowledge in this battle. He had a new understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth. As long as he digested it properly, he would definitely improve. Soon, he returned to the Phoenix Palace and entered the mountain and river diagram. He sat cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree and began to comprehend quietly. 2 days later, Lu Ming finally ended his cultivation. Fighting with strong people and fighting to the death is indeed fast. It's not something that bitter cultivation can compare with. Lu Ming smiled. And NBSP, his primal chaos domain, had also improved. Then let's continue. Lu Ming smiled and left the Phoenix Palace. He found a secret place, changed into the black robe and put on the Azura mask, and headed out of the city. It's that Azura, he's here again. Lu Ming's arrival attracted many people's attention. After all, the battle between Lu Ming and the young master of Blood Prison 2 days ago had spread like wildfire. Fight! Lu Ming was still as domineering as the last time. He fixed his eyes on a young man and threw a punch at him. Through his aura, this young man should be in existence on the same level as the Blood Prison young master. You're looking for death. The other party shouted coldly and engaged in a fierce battle with Lu Ming. This time, Lu Ming was still at a disadvantage and he exchanged more than 100 moves with the other party. Brat, go to hell. At this moment, a beam of blood-red light rushed out of Darkwater City. It was the young master of Blood Prison. He had obviously heard the news and rushed out aggressively. I want to accompany you today. Well, fight again in 2 days. Lu Ming smiled and used the thundering wind steps. With a few flashes, he dodged the young master of Blood Prison and rushed into the Darkwater City. This guy is using us as whetstones. The young man who had fought with Lu Ming today said coldly. No one would feel comfortable being used as a whetstone by a LV9 martial royal realm martial artist. That person's cultivation technique is very strange. The secret skill he used is the Wan family's 10,000 soldiers' secrets. However, his domain doesn't seem to be the 10,000 soldiers' domain. It's very similar to the legendary Chaos domain. There's actually someone in this world who can cultivate the Chaos domain? It's really shocking. Moreover, his spirit body seems to be related to the 9 dragons. The young men around the lake were discussing. These people were all prodigies from Emperor-level forces and naturally had unique judgment. Lu Ming's territory and spirit body could not be hidden from these people. It's a great era today. I didn't expect to meet someone who has cultivated the Chaos domain in the 100 clan battlefield. The Chaos domain is one of the 10 strongest domains. In the future, when he cultivates a law, it will also be one of the 10 strongest laws. That's right. I've heard that there are people who have successfully cultivated other ultimate maxims. If we can see the collision of ultimate maxims, how wonderful would that be? The genius who fought with Lu Ming today mumbled to himself. After Lu Ming entered Darkwater City, he changed into his disguise and headed to the Phoenix Palace. He did not expect to run into Feng Ling looking for him the moment he returned to the Phoenix Palace. Lu Ming, there's news on the map and key to the tomb of the Samsara King. Said Huang Ling, oh, how is it? Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he asked. There is indeed more than one map and key to the tomb of the Samsara King. The map and key to the tomb of the Samsara King have appeared in different places and were obtained by different people. This matter has been spreading like wildfire in Darkwater City. Said Huang Ling, do you know who got it? Lu Ming asked. I don't know, but I'm sure that many of them are in Darkwater City. Huang Ling shook her head. It seems like they're all waiting. Then, we don't have to be in a hurry. Someone will definitely be the first to take the lead. Lu Ming said. Huang Ling nodded and left after discussing with Lu Ming. Lu Ming continued to cultivate in the mountain and river diagram. After that, Lu Ming would go out of the city every 2 days to challenge experts. Among them, he fought with the young master of Blood Prison the most. Although Lu Ming was at a disadvantage every time, the young master of Blood Prison could not do anything to him. Just like that, a month's time passed by in a flash. In the past month, Azura's name had spread throughout Darkwater City, becoming a famous battle maniac. Everyone knew that Lu Ming was using those geniuses as a whetstone. On the contrary, those geniuses were also using Lu Ming as a whetstone, forcing themselves to work hard. In the past month, Lu Ming had made rapid progress. He had already reached the peak of the 9th level martial royal realm. Therefore, in the end, when Lu Ming challenged those prodigies, his disadvantage was not so obvious anymore. He might even end up in a draw. There were too many paragons in the 100 clan battlefield and there was no lack of opponents. That was why Lu Ming could improve so quickly. If he was in the Azure continent, he wouldn't have improved so quickly, because he didn't have that many opponents. The collision between geniuses would naturally encourage one to improve. Lu Ming's improvement was especially obvious. On this day, Lu Ming was cultivating in the mountain and river diagram. Suddenly, his heart stirred. There seemed to be some movement outside. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and exited the mountain and river diagram. Gah! As soon as he came out of the mountain and river diagram, a sharp cry came from the sky. It resounded through the world and reverberated between heaven and earth. Lu Ming left the room and looked up at the sky. He realized that there were a few more suns in the sky. No, those were not the sun, but a few golden crows. Divine birds, three-legged golden crows, there were several three-legged golden crows. The three-legged golden crow was also known as the divine bird of the sun. Like the true dragon and phoenix, it was also an extremely terrifying divine beast. Yan Quang's bloodline was the three-legged golden crow. A few three-legged golden crows were circling in the sky above Darkwada City. Their bodies were covered in golden flames, shining brightly like a sun. What's going on? Why are those three-legged golden crows circling in the sky? In the Phoenix Palace, the disciples were also alarmed. They appeared in the sky one by one and looked up at the sky. Huang Ling's figure appeared beside Lu Ming. Gah! Gah! A total of 4 three-legged golden crows let out bright cries and then turned into 4 golden-robed young men, standing around the Darkwada City. Everyone, I, the Crown Prince of the Golden Crow race, have something to say to all of you. The 4 young men of the Golden Crow race spoke at the same time, and their voices echoed throughout the entire Darkwada City. Gah! At this time, an even louder golden crow's cry resounded through the sky. A dazzling golden light filled the sky, and then a 10,000-foot tall figure appeared in the sky. It was a young man, but he was not a physical being. Instead, he was formed from true yuan and nomological power. He wore a golden robe with a sun embroidered on it. On his head was a golden crown. He was handsome, cold, and arrogant, and exuded a powerful majesty. Greetings, 10th Prince. The 4 members of the Golden Crow race greeted the towering figure at the same time. It's the 10th Prince of the Golden Crow race. He's extremely terrifying. His body is equivalent to a low-class heaven spiritual body, and he's already reached the 3rd stage of the half-saint realm, the realm where the laws can be infused into his body. Said Huang Ling, her eyes filled with solemnness. Chapter 1625 Gathering, is it a tank of laws? Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. The nomological chamber, as its name suggested, was the power of the laws that poured into the body. Every muscle and even every cell in the body was filled with the power of the laws. At this level, one's physical strength would skyrocket, and their combat strength would be very terrifying. They were only half a step away from the saint realm. Huang Ling also had a lower-class heavenly spiritual body. She was a heaven's favorite of the same level as her opponent. However, her cultivation was only at the 2nd stage of the half-saint realm. If she were to fight with her opponent, she would be defeated easily. In the 100-clan battlefield, this kind of prodigy was almost the strongest. Even the strongest prodigies would rarely come to the 100-clan battlefield because they had no effect on training. The 10th Golden Crow Prince scanned the surroundings with a dignified gaze and said, I believe everyone has heard the news that the tomb of the Reincarnation King is about to appear. Many people were shocked. The first thing the Golden Crow 10th Prince said was about the tomb of the Reincarnation Emperor. Could it be that he was doing this because of the tomb? Finally, someone can't hold it in anymore. Lu Ming smiled and exchanged glances with Huang Ling. I also know that some people have already obtained the map and key to the tomb of the Reincarnation King. They are in the Dark Water City. The 10th Golden Crow Prince continued. Many people's eyes lit up as they understood that the 10th Golden Crow Prince was going to take the lead. However, the map and key of the tomb of the Samsara Emperor are divided into many parts. It is useless to get one part. Only by gathering them together can we find the tomb of the Samsara Emperor and get the treasures inside. I will take the lead today. I also have the map and key of the tomb of the Samsara Emperor. Tomorrow at noon, those who have the map and key of the tomb of the Samsara Emperor will come to the Golden Crow Palace to meet me. What do you think? After all, if these maps don't merge with the key, they're useless. They'll only become scrap. The 10th Golden Crow Prince added one last sentence before his massive figure disappeared into the air. The 4 Golden Crow race members also disappeared into the air. How is it? Do you want to go to the Golden Crow Palace tomorrow? Huang Ling looked at Lu Ming. Of course we're going. If we don't go, our map and keys will be useless. Lu Ming said with a smile. At this moment, the eyes of some people in Darkwada City flickered. The entire Darkwada City was discussing this matter. They did not speak for a day. At noon the next day, Lu Ming and Huang Ling headed to the Golden Crow Hall. The Golden Crow Palace was also a temporary residence that the Golden Crow clan had bought in Darkwater City. It had a very wide area and was not smaller than the Phoenix Palace. When Lu Ming and Huang Ling arrived at the square in front of the Golden Crow Palace, they realized that it was already crowded. Many paragons had gathered around the square. There were also many locals. Most of the people didn't have the map or key to the tomb of the Reincarnation King. They were just here to watch the show and see who had taken the key. There were dozens of golden-robed young men standing on the square. They were all members of the Golden Crow race. Among these people, there was a young man wearing a golden crown. He sat on a chair and looked around with a majestic gaze. He was the 10th prince of the Golden Crow race. Lu Ming and Huang Ling mixed in with the crowd and did not go out. Anyone who has the map and key to the tomb of the Samsara King can come out and see me. The 10th prince's voice rang out. Bang! Bang! At this time, a figure stepped through the air and landed on the square. It was a young man who appeared to be in his 20s. He had a slender figure, and his body was surrounded by streaks of lightning. His aura was overbearing. It's Yi Dongfang from the Thunder God sect. Someone exclaimed. This person is very strong. Lu Ming's gaze also froze slightly. The thunderbolts surrounding Yi Dongfang were all formed by the laws of thunder. Once he launched an attack, it would be earth-shattering. Yi Dongfang is extremely terrifying. He's no weaker than the 10th prince of the Golden Crow. Huang Ling sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Yi Dongfang, do you have the map and key to the tomb of the Samsara King? The 10th Golden Crow Prince's eyes shot out 2 rays of golden light as he stared at Yi Dongfang. Not bad. Yi Dongfang's palm glowed, and a jade talisman and a key appeared in his hands. When she stood up, it was almost the same as the jade talisman key that Lu Ming and Huang Ling had obtained. Take out your map and key. Yi Dongfang said. The 10th Golden Crow Prince smiled and with a wave of his hand, a jade talisman and a key appeared in his hands. The shocking thing was that the jade talisman and the key were different. You actually obtained 2 sets of maps and keys. Yi Dongfang's eyes were filled with the power of lightning. Around them, many elites were looking at the jade talismans and keys in the hands of the Golden Crow 10th Prince and Yi Dongfang with burning eyes. But no one dared to do anything. Trying to lay their hands on the Golden Crow 10th Prince and Yi Dongfang was no different from courting death. 3 sets are obviously far from enough. Who else has the map and key to the tomb of the Reincarnation King? The 10th Golden Crow Prince looked around. We. At this moment, 2 more figures stepped into the square. Without a doubt, these 2 young men were extremely terrifying heaven's favorites. Although they were not as powerful as Yi Dongfang and the Golden Crow 10th Prince, they were on the same level as Huang Ling, the young master of the Blood Prison, and Wan Tiancheng. A jade talisman and a key appeared in each of their hands. Then, after a while, another person stepped out and took out a jade talisman and key. After a while, another person walked out. There was no doubt that those who had obtained the jade talisman and key of the tomb of the Reincarnation King were all extremely terrifying people. None of them were weaker than the young master of the blood prison. Wan Tiancheng was a Heaven's Pride expert of the same level. In total, there were 6 sets of jade talismans and keys to the tomb of the Samsara King in the hands of the 10th Golden Crow Prince. The eyes of Yi Dongfang, the Golden Crow 10th Prince, and the others lit up. If this continued, they might be able to gather the map and key to the tomb of the Samsara King. Is there any more? The 10th Golden Crow Prince's voice rang out again. Let's go out. Huang Ling sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. All right. Lu Ming nodded. The two of them stepped out and landed on the square, instantly attracting everyone's attention. That's the Phoenix spirit of the Phoenix Palace. Who's that kid? He's standing with Fairy Feng Ling. I know. That kid came to Dark Water City with Huang Ling. As soon as he arrived, he was assassinated by an assassin from the Thousand Kills mansion. However, that assassin was easily killed by him. You dare to kill the assassins of the Thousand Kill mansion? You're quite bold. The surroundings were filled with the sound of discussion. The 10th Golden Crow Prince's gaze swept past Lu Ming and Huang Ling, then he ignored Lu Ming and looked at Huang Ling. Feng Ling, do you have the key and the map of the tomb of the Reincarnation King? It's not on me, it should be on the two of us. A key appeared in her hand while a jade talisman appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The 10th Golden Crow Prince, Yi Dongfang, and the others were all taken aback. Chapter 1626 missing 3 portions. The 10th Golden Crow Prince, Yi Dongfang, and the others were all surprised. They did not expect Lu Ming, who was only at the 9th level of the martial royal realm, to have a map. It was obvious that it was a set with the key in Huang Ling's hand. However, with Huang Ling's abilities, why didn't she snatch the map from Lu Ming's hands? Wouldn't it be better to combine the map and the key? Why did they have to control one each? He's from your Phoenix Palace? The 10th Golden Crow Prince asked curiously. No. Huang Ling shook her head. Not from the Phoenix Palace. Many people's eyes lit up. A mere LV9 martial royal realm expert is not qualified to control the map of the tomb of the Samsara King. Just give it to me. A cold voice was heard. A figure stepped out and a powerful aura enveloped Lu Ming. Blood Prison's young master. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with a cold light. Boy, give me the map of the tomb of the Reincarnation King. You don't deserve it. The young master of Blood Prison said coldly. His eyes were filled with greed. With his strength, he didn't even get a key or map to the tomb of the Reincarnation King, which made him jealous. None of the others were weaker than him, so he naturally did not dare to make a move. However, Lu Ming was merely at the 9th level of the martial royal realm and he did not take him seriously at all. On the side, the 10th Golden Crow Prince, Yi Dongfang, and the others just looked on indifferently. They didn't say anything and didn't stop him. Having the map or the key meant that they were qualified to open the tomb of the Reincarnation King with them. However, those who had the map and the key were all extremely talented and powerful. Lu Ming was only at the 9th level of the martial royal realm. How could he be qualified to be with them? Am not qualified. Do you have one? Lu Ming sneered. I didn't. Then I'll let you know if I have it or not. Young Master of Blood Prison's eyes were cold. A blood-red light condensed on his body, and his powerful aura pressed toward Lu Ming. Suddenly, the cry of a phoenix was heard. A powerful aura burst out from Huang Ling's body and she stood in front of Lu Ming. She stared at young Master of Blood Prison and said coldly, Blood Prison, Lu Ming is with me. If you want to attack him, let's see if you can defeat me. Feng Ling, what are you doing? Do you really want to cooperate with a LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert? I'm afraid that he will be a burden to you when we enter the tomb of the Reincarnation King. Give me the map and work with me. That's the way to go. The Blood Prison young master said, trying to persuade Feng Ling, get lost, or well fight, shut up. Huang Ling scolded coldly. The young master of Blood Prison was furious, but he was afraid of Huang Ling. Although Huang Ling was a heaven's favorite on the same level as him, she had the undying heavenly phoenix body and her life force was too strong. In battle, she was not afraid of death. She used her strong life force to exhaust her opponents to death. Among the heaven's favorites of the same level, Feng Ling was the most difficult to deal with. Detestable. Young master of Blood Prison roared in his heart. What was wrong with this Huang Ling? Was she out of her mind? She would rather work with Lu Ming than him. What was the difference between bringing Lu Ming along and bringing a burden? Could this kid be Feng Ling's lover? Young master of Blood Prison thought. He was not the only one. Many people around the square had the same thought. Kid, with your cultivation, you won't get any treasure even if you enter the tomb of the Reincarnation King. You'll only waste the map. I'll give you a chance now. How about you sell the map to me? The young master of Blood Prison still didn't give up. Get lost. Lu Ming's answer was very simple. It was only one word. What did you just say? The killing intent of the young master of Blood Prison grew. He glared at Lu Ming and said, Kid, don't think that you can be so arrogant just because you have Huang Ling's support. You're just a piece of trash who only knows how to hide behind a woman. Let's see if you can keep the map of the tomb of the Reincarnation King. After saying that, the young master of Blood Prison snorted coldly and left the square. In the crowd, two people looked at Lu Ming with fear. They were Zhao Kuang and Simo Yang. The two of them had also come to Darkwater City. They knew Lu Ming's combat strength very well. Even Wan Tiancheng had been killed by Lu Ming. Of course, they would not remind the young master of Blood Prison about Lu Ming's combat strength. Wouldn't it be better if Lu Ming made enemies? He could borrow the hands of others to deal with Lu Ming. Does anyone else have the map and key to the tomb of the Reincarnation King? The 10th Golden Crow Prince's voice rang out again. The crowd around the square looked at each other. This time, no one stepped out. After that, the 10th Golden Crow Prince asked a few more questions, but no one came out. Obviously, there was no more. Everyone, we have 7 sets here. Let's take a look and see if they're all here. What do you think? The 10th Golden Crow Prince suggested. Good, just what I want. Yi Dongfang was the first to speak, followed by the others. Let's activate the pattern on the map and put it together to take a look. The Golden Crow 10th Prince said. With a wave of his hand, a golden screen of light enveloped them, making it impossible for anyone else to see them. Many sighed. They had originally wanted to peek at the map, but it seemed like they had no chance. Within the golden light screen, the 10th Golden Crow Prince took out 2 jade talismans. He poured energy into them, and the 2 jade talismans lit up. In the air, 2 maps appeared. Then, Yi Dongfang also injected his ethereal force into the jade talisman, and another map appeared. The 3 pieces of the map pieced together in the air to form an even larger map, but it was obvious that it was incomplete. Following that, the rest of them channeled their vital essence into their jade talismans and incomplete maps appeared one after another. Lu Ming did the same and the jade talisman in his hand also appeared. A total of 7 maps were pieced together. It's still incomplete. The 10th Golden Crow Prince's face darkened. It was obvious that the 7 pieces of the map were pieced together to form a larger map, but it was still missing something. There was a missing piece in the middle and a missing corner on both sides. According to the size, there should be 3 missing pieces. There should be 10 maps and 10 keys in total. It's indeed incomplete. There's no specific location on the map. It seems that only when all 10 maps are complete will the specific location be shown. Yi Dongfang said. Perhaps the person who obtained the remaining map and keys of the tomb of the Samsara king is not in Darkwada city but in the other 3 cities. Someone said. In the center of the 100 Tribes battlefield, there were 4 major cities where a large number of geniuses had gathered. The remaining maps were likely to be in other cities. It's possible. I'll send people to the other 3 cities to spread the news. It's best for us to stay in Darkwada city for the time being. When the map and key are ready, we'll set off for the tomb of the reincarnation emperor. The Golden Crow 10th Prince said. The others nodded and put away the map. Some of them glanced at Lu Ming coldly and a strange light flashed in their eyes. However, after they glanced at Huang Ling, they all looked fearful. The 10th Golden Crow Prince waved his hand, and the light barrier disappeared. Everyone's eyes were on them, wondering if they knew where the tomb of the reincarnation emperor was. Chapter 1627, 1627 Chaos Heaven Flipping Seals Breakthrough. I still have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. Yi Dongfang said and left. Me too. Then, the others stepped into the air and left. It seems that the map isn't complete. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dispersed. That should be the case. They're waiting for the remaining maps and keys. The people in the surroundings guessed. Lu Ming and Huang Ling also stepped into the air and left. Many people's eyes fell on Lu Ming with greed in their eyes. Their eyes darted around, and no one knew what they were thinking. Very soon, Lu Ming and Feng Ling returned to the Phoenix Palace. I must continue to improve my strength. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. With his current combat strength, together with Bubbles and Ming Lian, it was more than enough to deal with geniuses like young Master of Blood Prison. However, against geniuses like the 10th Golden Crow Prince and Yi Dongfang, he was still slightly lacking. However, Lu Ming's current cultivation had already reached the peak of the 9th level martial royal realm. It would be too difficult for him to break through in a short period of time. This was because he would be able to comprehend the ultimate domain and enter the first stage of the half-saint realm if he were to take another step forward. It was not easy to break through from the 9th level martial royal realm to the half-saint realm. In a short period of time, Lu Ming had 2 ways to improve his combat strength. The first was the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal, and the second was to improve his soul power. He felt that he would soon be able to break through the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal and step into the 5th level. As for his soul power, as long as he refined the demonic fiend crystals, he would be able to continuously increase it. Although geniuses like the young Master of Blood Prison and Huang Ling all had spiritual god defensive treasures that could defend their souls, their defensive power was only relative. If one's soul power was strong enough, one could still break through the defense and have a major impact on the soul. If Lu Ming's soul force was comparable to a bright saint or even a great saint, he could break through young Master Blood Prison's spiritual god defensive treasure and destroy his soul with a shout and a look. At the end of the day, it was because Lu Ming's soul power was not strong enough. His current soul power was only equivalent to that of a second-stage half-saint. When Lu Ming's soul force reached the 3rd stage of the half-saint realm, even if the other party had a spiritual god defensive treasure, he would still be able to cause a major impact. Therefore, Lu Ming decided not to take on the challenge for the time being. He would stay in the Phoenix Palace and cultivate in peace. Lu Ming sat cross-legged under the path understanding ancient tree. His mind was in an ethereal state as he comprehended the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal. In a hall of a palace in Dark Water City, the young Master of Blood Prison sat on the throne with a cold expression. I must get a map or key to the tomb of the Reincarnation King. The young Master of Blood Prison said coldly as he clenched his fists. Without the map or key of the tomb of the Reincarnation King, he was not even qualified to participate. Only with a map or key of the tomb of the Reincarnation King could he be qualified to participate. Young Master, do you have any plans? There were a few other young men in the hall. They were all the subordinates of the young master of blood prison. One of them spoke. Seize. Young master of blood prison's eyes lit up as he said, that guy called Lu Ming is only at LV9 Martial Royal Realm. What right does he have to possess a map? That map should belong to me. The other people's faces changed, and one of them said, but young master, Lu Ming is hiding in Darkwater City. We can't make a move there. Moreover, he's in the Phoenix Palace. The Phoenix Spirit is in the Phoenix Palace. How can we take him away? I'll find a way to ask for help to deal with Huang Ling. As long as I can lure her away, Lu Ming will be easy to deal with. He's only at the 9th level of the Martial Royal Realm. I can take him down in an instant. As long as I can take him down, I'll leave Darkwater City quickly. Even the Sage Realm experts in Darkwater City will be helpless against me. The young master of blood prison said in a cold voice. Young master is wise. The others quickly flattered him. Yes. During this period of time, keep a close eye on Phoenix Palace and Lu Ming's movements. I'll find a way to find someone to help us distract the Phoenix Spirit. Once I find someone to help us, we can take action. The young master of blood prison said. Lu Ming had no idea about young master of blood prison's plot. He was fully focused on cultivating the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal. Lu Ming had long cultivated the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal to the peak of the 4th level. After this period of killing and tempering, it was on the verge of a breakthrough. Therefore, after Lu Ming cultivated it with all his heart for 2 days, the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal naturally broke through and reached the 5th level. The cultivation of the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal was very difficult. For example, Lu Ming did not take long to cultivate the Thundering Wind Steps and 13 accumulated power strikes to the 6th level. However, the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal had only broken through to the 5th level after cultivating for so long. It was difficult to cultivate, but correspondingly, it was more powerful. Every time the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal broke through a level, its power would skyrocket, especially the last 2 levels. In the mountain and river diagram, Lu Ming stood on the peak of a mountain. His Chaos Domain surged and a Chaos Sky-Turning stamp appeared in his palm, growing larger and larger. Then, Lu Ming shook his palm and the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal disappeared automatically. Then, another Chaos Sky-Turning Seal condensed in Lu Ming's other palm. In the past, Lu Ming had to form hand seals to condense the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal. Now, he did not even need to do so. He could condense the Chaos Sky-Turning Seal with a single thought. This way, it would be more convenient to fight. Now, increase my soul force. Lu Ming smiled and sat on the ground. He took out a demonic evil crystal and began to refine it. In the blink of an eye, another 5 days passed. After 5 days of continuous refining, Lu Ming's soul force had also made a breakthrough. The strength of his soul force was equivalent to the 3rd stage of the half-saint realm. I've been in seclusion for a while. It's time to go out and see if there's any news. Lu Ming thought to himself. The next moment, he exited the mountain and river diagram and sent a message to Huang Ling. Not long after, Huang Ling found Lu Ming. Huang Ling, how is it? Did anyone come with the key and the map of the tomb of the Reincarnation King? Lu Ming asked. 3 days ago, an expert came. He had a map and a key. We are still short of 2 more. Said Huang Ling. Oh, it seems that it will be soon. Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming, the situation in Darkwater City is getting more and more complicated. Many experts have come from other cities. You have to be careful these days. Huang Ling reminded. Lu Ming nodded. He had a premonition that before the tomb of the Reincarnation Emperor was opened, there would be a storm. Darkwater City would not be peaceful. At this moment, a female disciple of Phoenix Palace came forward and bowed to Feng Ling. Saintess, young Master Tianying of the Heavenly Bird Palace has sent someone here. He said that he is hosting a banquet at the Drunken Immortal restaurant and would like to invite you to have a chat. Young Master Tianying. Huang Ling frowned. Holy Maiden, are you going? The people from Tianqin Palace also said that young Master Tianying has invited the 10th Prince of the Golden Crow, and now you're the only one left. The female disciple of Phoenix Palace said. Yes. Huang Ling pondered for a moment and said, Go and tell him that I'll be there in a while. Yes. The female disciple of Phoenix Palace bowed and retreated. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.